Chapter 35, 73. In a flash, Jian Wushuang had lost contact with the outside world for a full 80,000 years. He had also been trapped on the high platform for a full 80,000 years. 30,000 years ago, Jian Wushuang collapsed the sword world on his own and began to re-establish his sword principle with the universe as the core. Because he had many understandings of sword principle before, he was naturally familiar with the way to re-establish his sword principle now. During the past 30,000 years, his sword principle had been improving rapidly and had never stopped. On the high platform, Jian Wushuang opened his eyes and slowly stood up. However, the moment he stood up, an invisible sword essence stretched out and instantly triggered the surrounding universe. Endless sword principle origin surged toward him. He was standing there, but he felt that he had become the core of the sword principle origin. With a thought, the sword principle origin of the universe could be used by him. With a simple action, he could immediately absorb a large amount of the sword principle origin contained in the universe. This feeling is the real sword principle. Jian Wushuang sighed with surprise and joy in his eyes. He had renewed his sword principle and activated the universe sword principle origin. Now that he had finally used the universe sword principle origin, his sword principle had reached a new level. If I'm not wrong, Di Shisan's sword principle level should also be at this step, Jian Wushuang muttered. Di Shisan was an amazing genius in sword principle. His sword principle was the strongest in the divine beginning realm since ancient times. Even though he was only a principle's master, his level of sword principle was beyond the reach of many rulers. Although Jian Wushuang could not really compare with Di Shisan, he felt that his current grasp of sword principle should not be much weaker than Di Shisan's. I'm very curious about how much my swordsmanship will improve after reaching this step. Jian Wushuang slowly extended his right hand with a hint of expectation. He did not use a sword, nor did he display swordsmanship. He just casually slashed with his right index finger. This slash instantly activated the origin of sword principle in the universe. For a moment, the space was almost cut open. Wow! When I activated the sword principle origin of the universe, the power of my sword suddenly increased by dozens of times. It's so terrifying, Jian Wushuang exclaimed. Previously, when he had reached the third level of sword principle and evolved everything, the power of his swordsmanship could also be increased with the support of sword principle. However, the increase in power was very limited. It was already incredible to be able to increase the power by 1 or 2 times. But now, with a casual move of his sword, the power of the origin of sword principle in the universe was instantly increased by dozens of times. This increase was too great. Now, I understand why Di Shisan was able to cut off the arm of a ruler, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. With the comprehension of sword principle at this stage, the power of each move was extremely powerful. For example, now, even with a casual move of his sword, the power of this move would still be no weaker than a level 6 absolute art once he displayed his sword skill and activated the sword principle origin of the universe. The power of his sword skill would be even more terrifying. Moreover, his understanding of sword principle was so high that it had already surpassed most of the Master Realm experts. At this stage, he could completely create a level 7 absolute art, which was an absolute art at the Master Realm. Once he created a level 7 absolute art and activated the sword principle origin of the universe, the power would be too terrifying. I was absolutely confident that I had some talent in sword principle, but I wasn't confident that I could compete with Di Shisan. I didn't expect that I could really catch up with Di Shisan in the blink of an eye. Jian Wushuang's face was full of surprise and joy. However, he also understood that the reason why he was able to achieve this step was because of his extraordinary perception and comprehension. Another point was the human-shaped statue array in front of him. The combination of the human-shaped statues in the array and their swordsmanship made Jian Wushuang realize the shortcomings of his sword principle and allowed him to find a flaw. He also saw a brand new sword principle. Of course, the most important point was Jian Wushuang's decisiveness and boldness. After all, he had destroyed his sword world on his own and then recultivated his sword principle. Visit Readle me for extra chapters. This process was not something that an ordinary person could do. After all, it was not easy to cultivate a sword principle to this point. Who would be willing to destroy it on their own? Who would be willing to recultivate it, even if they knew that they had made a mistake? After all, they had put in so much effort. No one would be willing to reject everything and recultivate it, let alone Jian Wushuang, who only relied on his own comprehension with some conjectures. He decisively broke down the sword world and then relearned his sword principle. Such decisiveness and boldness were not something that ordinary people could have. Jian Wushuang had done it, and he had made the right bet. After relearning his sword principle for 30,000 years, his sword principle had reached a new level, which was far above the sword principle he had comprehended before. Although I have taken this step, I don't know what level it is. Jian Wushuang smiled. However, in the divine beginning realm, sword principle was divided into 3 levels. Although the sword principle I have mastered now is not the same as the 3 levels, it is still considered the 4th level of sword principle. The 4th level of sword principle was beyond the realm of principles masters. Jian Wushuang had reached the level of sword principle that even many master realm experts could not reach. I've reached the 4th level of sword principle. I wonder what will happen if I try to break through this human-shaped sculpture array again. Jian Wushuang licked his lips, looked at the human-shaped sculptures in front of him, and took out his shadow-killing sword. Then he walked forward step by step. Soon, Jian Wushuang fought with the human-shaped sculptures again. This time, because he had reached the 4th level of sword principle, his swordsmanship was completely different. While Jian Wushuang was fighting with the human-shaped sculptures, the consciousness in the deepest part of this special space-time awakened again. This time, when he woke up and sensed what was happening on the high platform, the consciousness was completely shocked. Sword, universe origin of sword principle. This kid has activated the universe origin of sword principle. He has reached the first step of the universe origin of sword principle. The consciousness was completely shocked. After all, 80,000 years ago, when Jian Wushuang first came to this special space-time and was trapped on the high platform, the sword principle that he displayed was extremely laughable to him. But now, if you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 3574. Unbelievable to activate the universe origin of sword principle and take the first step into the universe origin of sword principle. In just 80,000 years, this rate of improvement was too frightening. The key is that he is only an immortal saint. Even though this consciousness was knowledgeable at this moment, a huge wave was stirred up in his heart. It took a deep breath before it shouted again, "Third brother, wake up! Fourth brother, what's wrong now?" The second consciousness that had previously awakened and conversed with his consciousness also woke up. Hee, it's still for that little fellow trapped in the 18 ultimate formation. The first consciousness laughed. I already said that that little fellow was destined to die from the moment he stepped into the 18 ultimate formation. What's there to say? It's a waste of time. The second consciousness said with some dissatisfaction. Doomed to die? I don't think so, the first consciousness said with a demonic charm. Third brother, take a good look at the little guy in the 18 ultimate formation and see what level he has reached. Oh, the second consciousness could not help but be surprised. Although he had woken up, he did not immediately grasp the situation of this special space-time. Now that he heard the first consciousness words, he subconsciously looked at the high platform. Immediately, he saw the scene on the high platform. He saw Jian Wushuang walking on the high platform. There were still 6 human-shaped sculptures in front of him. When these 6 human-shaped sculptures joined hands, they were extremely powerful. Previously, even if Jian Wushuang tried his best, he was still completely suppressed by these 6 human-shaped sculptures. But now, Jian Wushuang looked relaxed and content. He casually drew his sword and did not display any extraordinary sword skills, but he could easily block the sword skills of the 6 human-shaped sculptures. Each of his casual moves triggered the universe origin of sword principle, making his swordsmanship even more terrifying. This is... After seeing the scene on the high platform, the second consciousness was stunned, but then became excited. The universe origin of sword principle. Yes, it's the universe origin of sword principle. Ha! Yes, it's the universe origin of sword principle. He has already taken the first step of the universe origin of sword principle. Now you dare to say that he can't break through the 18 ultimate formation and is doomed to die? The first consciousness laughed. How is this possible? The second consciousness was still filled with shock. A mere immortal saint can actually take such a step in Sword Tao. Moreover, when he first came to this space-time 80,000 years ago, he didn't come into contact with this level at all. He even took the wrong step in Sword Tao. However, in a short span of 80,000 years, he has already taken this step. I also find it unbelievable. The first consciousness said, even though I spent most of my time sleeping, I still pay attention to this little guy. I can be sure that when he entered this space-time, he didn't even know what the Sword Tao universe origin was, and he was trapped here the entire time. There was no one to guide him. He relied purely on his own trial and error, and in just a short 80,000 years, he actually reached this step. Thanks. I know that there are some incredible geniuses in this vast universe. All of them are incomparably heaven-defying. For example, the 2 geniuses who passed through the 18 absolute formations were extremely heaven-defying. However, one of them was a principle's master, while the other was a ruler. In terms of talent, they probably can't compare to that little fellow trapped within the 18 absolute formations. Indeed, he did not receive any guidance. He only relied on his own exploration. The second consciousness side. If Jian Wushuang had reached this stage under the guidance of an expert, they would still be able to accept it. After all, the most important step to step into the origin of the sword universe was to first come into contact with the origin of the sword universe. If there was no guidance, ordinary people would not know what the origin of the sword universe was. So how could they come into contact with it? However, Jian Wushuang really did not have anyone to guide him. He just relied on his own trial and error, relying on his comprehension on the way to battle with those human-shaped sculptures to find his sword principle's inadequacies. Then he decisively collapsed the sword world and began to recultivate sword principle. This ability was indeed incredible. The first step in his Tao of the sword to enter the origin of the sword universe means that his understanding of the Tao of the sword is already higher than that of an ordinary ruler. His understanding of the Tao of the sword is so high that even if he hasn't fused 4 laws to become a ruler, he can still easily create a level 7 absolute art, or even an advanced level 7 absolute art. Once he creates an advanced level 7 absolute art, the 18 absolute formations won't be able to stop him, the first consciousness said. Well, with such a high understanding of sword principle, it is indeed easy to create a level 7 absolute art. The second consciousness nodded. Seeing that Jian Wushuang had already taken the first step into the origin of the sword universe, the 2 consciousnesses understood that it was difficult for Jian Wushuang to break through the 18 ultimate formations. Now, they were both looking forward to Jian Wushuang creating a level 7 advanced absolute art and then breaking through the 18 ultimate formations. For this reason, they even stopped sleeping temporarily and stayed awake, keeping an eye on Jian Wushuang. On the high platform, Jian Wushuang had already defeated the 6 human-shaped sculptures. It was normal. After reaching the 4th level of Sword Principle, each of his sword skills was extremely powerful. Even if he did not use any extraordinary sword skills, he could easily defeat the 6 human-shaped sculptures. Once he used his strongest technique, he could easily crush the 6 sculptures. However, after he defeated the 6 sculptures, the remaining 12 sculptures around the platform woke up at the same time. Together with the previous 6 sculptures, a total of 18 sculptures attacked at the same time. Although the absolute arts performed by the 18 human-shaped sculptures were only at the pinnacle of the 6th realm, the swordsmanship performed by the 18 human-shaped sculptures was as powerful as the previous 6 human-shaped sculptures. It had completely reached the peak of the 7th level elementary absolute arts. Jian Wushuang could not withstand such power, so he was defeated and retreated to the center of the platform again. However, Jian Wushuang was not at all disappointed this time. On the contrary, he was full of confidence. Fortunately, the swordsmanship power of these 18 human-shaped sculptures is only at the level of the 7th level absolute skill. At most, it is at the peak of the 7th level elementary skill. Although I can't fight against this level of absolute skill, now I have reached the 4th level of Sword Principle. It should not be difficult for me to create a 7th level absolute skill now. As long as I can create the same level of the 7th level elementary skill, I can fight these 18 human-shaped sculptures head-on. And once I've created a 7th level art, I can easily break out of this array. Chapter 3575. Level 7 Secret Skill. The Level 7 Secret Skill was not too difficult for him now. Even if it was a Level 7 Advanced Secret Skill, he could create it if he needed time. Fortunately, the human-shaped sculpture array had a time limit of 10 million years, and only 80,000 years had passed since he was trapped here. He had plenty of time. Jian Wushuang immediately sat down cross-legged. In terms of swordsmanship, I created the move Starfire Burning Sun after tens of thousands of years of evolution. Although this move is only the strongest level 6 ultimate skill, with my current understanding of Sword Principle, I can completely improve this move and upgrade it to level 7. Not only can I improve Starfire Burning Sun, but I can also improve my swordsmanship, which is at the peak of level 6, such as Till Death Do Us Part, Purple Charm, and Sword Rainbow. I can also improve the 7 sword moves in the Peerless Sword Manual. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly. Soon, he closed his eyes and began to study it, just as Jian Wushuang had expected. With her current understanding of Sword Principle, it was too easy for her to improve the swordsmanship that she had created before. It did not take long. For example, it only took him more than 1,000 years to upgrade Starfire Burning Sun to the level of an elementary level 7 skill. However, it was obviously not enough to meet his requirements. Time passed, and another 17,000 years passed in a flash. 17,000 years, plus the previous 80,000 years. Jian Wushuang had been trapped there for 97,000 years. On this day, Jian Wushuang suddenly opened his eyes. The moment he opened his eyes, a shocking sword essence swept out. This sword essence was extremely powerful. Fortunately, he was in this special space-time. There were no cultivators around. If there were cultivators in the outside world, ordinary principles masters would definitely be scared to death by this sword essence. Haha, it's done. Jian Wushuang also revealed a surprised smile. After spending 17,000 years to improve his swordsmanship finally met his requirements. The 3 sword techniques of Till Death Do Us Part, Purple Charm, and Sword Rainbow have all been upgraded to the level of an elementary level 7 absolute art, and they are all at the peak of the elementary level 7. In the Wushuang sword manual, I've also upgraded to the peak of the initial stage of the 7th rank for the 2 common sword techniques, Xixiang and Star Dream. As for the remaining 5 sword techniques, they are all at the threshold of the 7th rank. And most importantly, this move, Starfire Burning Sun. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands tightly. After all, Starfire Burning Sun was the 6th rank ultimate skill that he had spent tens of thousands of years to create. Previously, its level was much higher than the other sword techniques that he had created, but in these 17,000 years, he had spent a lot of time on improving this sword skill. Until now, this sword skill had finally reached the level of the 7th level advanced ultimate skill. In Jian Wushuang's opinion, the 7th level advanced skill was enough for him to pass through the human-shaped sculpture array. Let's try it. Jian Wushuang did not hesitate and directly began to pass through the human-shaped sculpture array. As he stood up and walked toward the human-shaped sculptures, the 2 consciousnesses that had been watching Jian Wushuang in the deepest part of the space-time immediately perked up. He has been sitting there for 17,000 years. He must be creating swordsmanship. Now that he is getting ready to break through the 18 ultimate formation, he must have created his swordsmanship, the first consciousness said. Yes, he has fought with the 18 human-shaped sculptures at the same time. He knows the power of the sword technique formed by the combination of these 18 human-shaped sculptures. Now that he has come to challenge the formation again, it means that he has the confidence to challenge it, the second consciousness said with a smile. It seems that Master's lineage will have another amazing little guy. Ha! This little fellow is indeed remarkable. At the very least, he is much more powerful than the 2 of us. The first consciousness laughed as well. Such a rare moment can not only be seen by the 2 of us. The second consciousness smiled faintly. Following that, a magnificent voice reverberated in the deepest part of the special space-time. 2nd, 5th, and 7th, the 3 of you should also wake up. This voice was not only majestic, but it also contained an invisible power. This power spread out like a wave board, instantly awakening the other 3 consciousnesses that were sleeping in this special space-time. 3rd brother, what's the matter? 3rd brother, you should know my current situation. If there isn't anything urgent, don't disturb me. Different voices came from 2 different directions. The 5 of them were in different corners of this special space-time, but their consciousnesses had already gathered together. I know your situation, but don't worry. I won't take too long to wake you up, and I won't let you use your strength. I just want you to see the little guy in the 18 ultimate formation. The second consciousness said it was the 3rd one. In the 18 ultimate formation, the other 3 consciousnesses had just woken up, and they had not paid enough attention to what was happening in this special space and time. Therefore, they did not know about Jian Wushuang's existence until their consciousnesses covered it. They finally understood why the 3rd one woke them up. Immortal Saint, an immortal saint actually created a level 7 absolute art. My God, his swordsmanship has triggered the universe origin of sword principle. He has actually stepped into the first step of the universe origin of sword principle. A level 7 absolute art is a level 7 absolute art, and it's not just one. He created many types of level 7 absolute arts at the same time. This little guy is really amazing. The newly awakened 3 consciousnesses were all extremely shocked when they saw Jian Wushuang's performance on the high platform. Ladies and gentlemen, there is one more thing I have to tell you. This little guy has only been in this special space and time for 97,000 years. He has only been trapped in the 18 ultimate formation. for so long. When he first came here, his sword principle was still very immature and laughable. He even took the wrong path in his sword principle. However, it only took him 97,000 years to reach this step. If nothing goes wrong, he will be able to break through the 18 ultimate formations soon. Third brother said, "Unbelievable. It's really unbelievable. He has been trapped for less than 100,000 years, and his sword Tao was very laughable at the beginning. This little guy is really a monster." Ha! I didn't expect that we would meet such an incredible monster, even though we have been reduced to this barren land. He has broken through the 18 ultimate formations at the level of a saint. Even in the deepest part of the universe where geniuses are as common as clouds, there is no such thing, right? The 5 consciousnesses were both amazed and excited. Chapter 3576, Golden War God Jian Wushuang was too amazing. If Jian Wushuang was a ruler or a principal's master, they would not be so excited and incredulous even though they were amazed that he had passed the 18 ultimate formation. However, Jian Wushuang was just an immortal saint. Even in the deepest part of the universe where geniuses gathered, no immortal saint could pass the 18 ultimate formation. Well, he passed it. The third brother smiled. Sure enough, after his sword principle has reached this level, the 18 ultimate formation is no longer difficult for him. The first consciousness, the fourth brother, said, is that the 7th level advanced absolute art he created. It looks pretty good. Ha! Master's lineage has another amazing little guy. The other 3 consciousnesses were also laughing. Suddenly, one of the consciousnesses said seriously, after passing the 18 ultimate formations, logically, we should send someone to come in contact with him and tell him the significance of this test. However, the 3 of us are too weak. Even if we awaken our consciousnesses, it will be very difficult, let alone going to see that little guy. Third brother, fourth brother, the 2 of you are in better condition. One of you should go. It'll pass. Fourth brother, go and make a trip, the third brother said. Leave it to me. The fourth brother, who was the first one among the 5 to pay attention to Jian Wushuang's consciousness, was in the best condition. It was because of this that he had the time to pay attention to Jian Wushuang. Now, he had to make contact with Jian Wushuang. Naturally, he was also the best choice. In the deepest corner of this special space-time, rumble! The space-time began to tremble crazily. It was pitch black, and there was not a trace of light in the void. Suddenly, a pair of huge, narrow golden eyes opened. There was a trace of ice-cold luster in the pair of golden eyes. I've been asleep for too long. My body is almost rusty. A loud voice sounded from the pitch-black void. The owner of the golden eyes slowly stood up. At the moment he stood up, a large amount of golden light surged out from his body. The golden light was extremely dazzling. It directly lit up the entire void. After stretching his back, the golden figure directly stepped into the void in front of him. At this moment, Jian Wushuang had just broken through the array of the 18 human-shaped sculptures. Finally, him out. Jian Wushuang stood in the gray void and looked at the high platform in front of him. Just now, when he directly attacked and forced his way through, the 18 human-shaped sculptures tried their best to stop him. Unfortunately, Jian Wushuang had created a level 7 absolute art, and with his comprehension of sword principle, he was able to face the 18 human-shaped sculptures head-on. He was not inferior at all. When he was fighting with these human-shaped sculptures, he had even deliberately displayed all of his sword skills. Through these human-shaped sculptures, he tested the power of his sword skills. After all the trials were over, only then did he really make his move. He directly used Starfire Burning Sun, an absolute art that had already reached the advanced level of level 7, and defeated the 18 puppet fighters head-on. The 18 human-shaped statues on the high platform were still there, but they had fallen into a deep sleep. In the center of the high platform, the corpse of the Star Thunder ruler was still intact. This scene made a strange smile appear on Jian Wushuang's face. Star Thunder ruler, although you had the intention to scheme against me, it's a pity that I didn't die on the high platform as you wished. Moreover, the years I've been trapped on the high platform have been a great opportunity for me, which has made my sword principle an incredible improvement. And the Shadow Demon Thunderstaff and Blood Demon Cave armor you left behind are also precious treasures for me. I really have to thank you for having such a great harvest, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. The reason why he was trapped on the high platform this time was partly because of the Star Thunder ruler. Before the Star Thunder ruler died, he deliberately set a trap in order to let others follow in his footsteps. Unfortunately, Jian Wushuang did not do as he wished. On the contrary, he had obtained a great opportunity. I have passed the test in the high platform, but I still don't know anything about this special space-time. Jian Wushuang frowned. At this moment, ha ha, a hearty laughter suddenly echoed in the space-time. Who is it? Jian Wushuang's expression suddenly changed, and he immediately looked toward the source of the voice. A golden light slowly lit up from the deepest part of the void. As the golden light got closer and closer, the light became more and more dazzling. When it reached Jian Wushuang, the golden light was still like a huge golden sun, illuminating the entire space and time. Jian Wushuang immediately saw the origin of the golden light. This golden light was a tall cultivator. He was hundreds of feet tall, wearing golden armor, boots, and a golden puppet fighter on his head. He also held a golden spear in his hand, making him look like a golden war god. When he came to Jian Wushuang and stood firmly in front of him, although he did not emit any aura, the moment Jian Wushuang saw him, he immediately felt a chill run down his spine. Yes, it was a chill down his spine. All the pores on his body had stood up. He was scared. He's too strong. This man is too strong. Jian Wushuang's body was trembling crazily. He had seen many experts, including the Temporal Temple Master and the Heaven Ancestor. Although these two experts were extremely powerful, he had seen and come into contact with them. Jian Wushuang was in awe of them, but he was not afraid of them. But now, the Golden War God in front of him, even though he did not exude any aura or power, Jian Wushuang was terrified just by standing there. He did not know what was going on. He could only say that it was an invisible pressure that made him lose the courage to resist. Jian Wushuang knew that the man in front of him was definitely a world-shaking super expert. He might even have surpassed the level of a ruler. Jian Wushuang did not know what level he would reach after he surpassed the level of a ruler, but he knew that it was beyond his reach. Taking a deep breath, Jian Wushuang suppressed the fear in his heart and bowed respectfully to the man. Jian Wushuang, greetings, Your Excellency. Jian Wushuang, is that your name? The Golden War God gazed at Jian Wushuang with his narrow golden eyes, and a faint smile appeared on his lips. Chapter 3577. Supreme Lingyun. Little guy, let me introduce myself first. I'm from planet Lingyun, and am Wind Demon, the fourth among the 7 devils under planet Lingyun. The Golden War God said grandly, My master is the Star Master of planet Lingyun, Supreme Lingyun. Planet Lingyun? Supreme Lingyun? Jian Wushuang was shocked. In his eyes, this Golden War God was terrifyingly powerful. He did not expect that he had a master behind him. Supreme? Above the ruler realm is the supreme realm? Jian Wushuang could not help but ask. Yes, above the ruler realm is the supreme realm. The Golden War God smiled faintly. Among them, the ruler realm cultivators are indeed top experts in some barren places in the universe. However, in the deepest part of the universe, they are nothing. Unless they are some of the top rulers, they can be considered as a figure in the deepest part of the universe. In the deepest part of the universe, the supreme realm is the expert who stands at the top of the pyramid. Is that so? Jian Wushuang was shocked, but he quickly calmed down. He looked at the golden war god in surprise. If I'm not wrong, you're also a supreme being, aren't you? Yes, I'm also a supreme being. The golden war god nodded. I'm not the only one. The other 6 demons who are as famous as me are also experts at the supreme realm. Although they are also supreme beings, there are still differences in strength. For example, as one of the 7 demons of Lingyun star, my strength is extremely strong even among supreme beings. However, even if we join hands, we are still nothing in front of my master. He had reached the top of the supreme realm many years ago. Later, he became even more powerful and became invincible among the supreme beings. Even in the deepest part of the universe, where there are as many experts as clouds, my master is definitely an overlord. With a stomp of his foot, the entire universe will tremble. As for a supreme being like me, he can destroy it with a wave of his hand. Hearing the golden war god's words, Jian Wushuang was secretly shocked. The golden war god in front of him was a super existence that terrified him. How could he be annihilated with a wave of his hand in front of his master, Star Master Lingyun? It was obvious how powerful Star Master Lingyun was. Little guy, I'm not telling you this for other reasons. I just want to tell you that the special space you're in now was left behind by my master. The 18 Ultimate Formation you just passed on the high platform was also a test left behind by my master. According to the rules of Planet Lingyun, anyone who can pass the 18 Ultimate Formation can become a disciple of Planet Lingyun. He or she is an inner star disciple, and his or her status is no lower than mine. The golden war god stared at Jian Wushuang with his golden eyes. Become a disciple of Planet Lingyun. Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows. He was not too surprised. He was very clear about the difficulty of the 18 Ultimate Formations. It could be said that he was indeed heaven-defying. If it were any other cultivator, it was simply impossible for him to create an advanced level 7 skill at the level of an immortal saint. With the tyrannical strength and status of the Star Master of Planet Lingyun, it was impossible for him to set up such a difficult test for no reason. It was very likely that the test was to select disciples for Planet Lingyun. The golden war god had not shown up when Jian Wushuang was trapped in the 18 Ultimate Formation. He only told him this when Jian Wushuang passed the test. Little guy, I ask you, do you want to join Planet Lingyun and become an inner disciple of Planet Lingyun? The golden war god asked seriously. Well, Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes and did not answer immediately. Instead, he asked, Lord Wind Demon, you mentioned just now that Star Master Lingyun is an extraordinary supreme being. Even in the deepest part of the universe, he is an overlord. But if I'm not wrong, it must have been many years ago, right? Jian Wushuang was not stupid. If Star Master Lingyun had always been like that, how could this special space-time come to this territory? Moreover, it had existed in the deepest, unexplored area of Devil's Smoke Valley for so many years. You're right. What I just said was a long time ago. It has been more than 100 chaos cycles since then, the Golden War God said. More than 100 chaos cycles. Jian Wushuang was shocked. He knew that it was only one chaos cycle when a grade 3 Earth star was born and completely annihilated. What was the concept of hundreds of chaos cycles? Jian Wushuang could not even calculate how many years it had been. At that time, our planet Lingyun was indeed an overlord in the deepest part of the universe. My master strength was enough to intimidate countless experts. However, there was an accident that led to a great change in our planet Lingyun. Our experts died and were injured. Many people escaped from the depths of the universe and fled to every corner of the universe. For example, I fled here with this space-time. Because of my heavy injuries, I have been sleeping for a long time. This time, I woke up because of you, the Golden War God said. His expression darkened. However, he continued, even though that incident caused planet Lingyun to be on the verge of collapse, there are still many experts from the Lingyun lineage scattered throughout the universe. There's also Master. Master, although he was heavily injured in that battle, I know that he didn't die. His strength has reached his level. It's too difficult for anyone in this universe to kill him. As long as Master doesn't die, planet Lingyun will have a chance to rise again. My brothers and I are waiting here quietly. We will recover our strength and return to the deepest part of the universe when Master gives the order. So, don't underestimate planet Lingyun. Jian Wushuang was speechless. He did not mean to underestimate planet Lingyun. He just wanted to have a deeper understanding of planet Lingyun. But now, he understood almost everything. Planet Lingyun used to be an overlord in the deepest part of the universe. However, hundreds of chaos cycles ago, the entire planet collapsed and countless experts fled in all directions. However, Star Master Lingyun did not die. It was entirely possible for planet Lingyun to rise again. Little fellow, I've said so much. I've told you everything you need to know. Now, you can answer me. Are you willing to join our Lingyun lineage or not? The Golden War God said. Chapter 3578. Internal Star Secret Skill. I do. Jian Wushuang agreed, without hesitation. In fact, Jian Wushuang had nothing to refuse. He had never been to the deepest part of the universe, nor had he had much contact with it. The only contact he had was with Bloodwave, and through Bloodwave, he knew about the existence of the Palace of Life. However, the Palace of Life was formed by the special life forms in the universe. Since he was one of the special life forms, he was naturally part of the Palace of Life. Because of the special relationship of the Palace of Life, he could freely join the other major forces in the depths of the universe. Although planet Lingyun had undergone drastic changes, it used to be an overlord in the deepest part of the universe. There seemed to be many experts at the supreme level. Such a major force. Usually, it was difficult for many experts to join. Now that Jian Wushuang had the opportunity, there was no need to refuse. After all, with another identity, if he went to the deepest part of the universe in the future, he would have more to rely on. Very good. Seeing Jian Wushuang agree, the Golden War God also smiled. Little guy, you're very lucky. If previously, when planet Lingyun was at its peak, countless geniuses tried to join our planet Lingyun, but we didn't bother with them. It's a great fortune for you to be a disciple of our planet Lingyun. Lord Wind Demon, since it's a good fortune, as an inner star disciple of the planet Lingyun, I should be able to get some benefits, right? Jian Wushuang asked directly. Of course. The Golden War God smiled, but our planet Lingyun suffered heavy losses in the accident, and its foundation has been almost destroyed. Now, in this barren territory, I can't give you the same treatment as an inner star disciple. At most, I can only let you choose an inner star secret skill. Inner star secret skill? Is it a secret skill that only inner star disciples of planet Lingyun are qualified to cultivate? Jian Wushuang looked over. Yes, and not every inner star disciple is qualified to cultivate it. Only a few outstanding inner star disciples who win the competition every once in a while are qualified to choose an inner star secret skill. This time, because of the current environment, I can't give you the treatment you deserve as an inner star disciple, so I made an exception and let you choose an inner star secret skill. In addition, there are 9 internal star secret skills in our planet Lingyun. Each of them is extremely powerful, enough to make countless rulers and even supreme beings yearn for them. However, because of the accident, the cultivation methods of these 9 internal star secret skills are available to different experts under my command. I only have 2 internal star secret skills. You can choose one of these 2 internal star secret skills. The Golden War God said. With a wave of his hand, 2 golden stone tablets appeared in front of Jian Wushuang. It was obvious that these 2 golden stone tablets were the cultivation methods of the inner star secret skill. Obviously, the protection of the inner star secret skill in planet Lingyun was very strict. The secret skill could only be taught by these golden stone tablets. In other places, even if the other party had already mastered one of the inner star secret skills, but this person could not teach this secret skill to others. Only 2 inner star secret skills. Jian Wushuang frowned. He said, "Sir, according to what you said, because I can't get the treatment that an ordinary inner star disciple should have, you made an exception and let me choose 1 inner star secret skill. But you only have 2 inner star secret skills to choose for me. This is still a little unfair to me. Otherwise, you might as well let me cultivate both of these secret skills." Jian Wushuang was not willing to cultivate only 1 internal star secret skill. He wanted to cultivate 2 at the same time. After all, according to Wind Demon, countless rulers, including many supreme-level experts, yearned to cultivate the 9 internal star secret skills that originated from the planet Lingyun at its peak. Naturally, Jian Wushuang also yearned for it. It would be best if he could cultivate 2 such secret skills at the same time. But after hearing his words, the Golden War God directly shook his head. "Don't even think about it. You don't even know the value of these inner star secret techniques and their strength. This inner star secret technique is definitely much more precious than the treatment that all your inner star disciples can receive. I've already opened a back door for you by letting you choose 1 inner star secret technique, but you actually want to cultivate a second one. Do you think the internal star secret skill of Lingyun star is like cabbages everywhere?" "I see." Jian Wushuang curled his lips and did not insist. "Let me take a look at these 2 secret skills first." "Okay." The Golden War God nodded, and then revealed some of the information on the golden stone tablet to Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang immediately knew the secret skills on the 2 golden stone tablets. One of the 2 inner star gates was a special secret skill for the circulation of divine power. Once one mastered this secret skill, his divine power could be instantly increased by several times or even dozens of times. To the peak, it could even reach hundreds of times. Of course, the flaw was that this secret skill consumed a lot of divine power, and it could not be used together with other secret skills that also increased divine power. Most importantly, the threshold of this secret skill was very high under normal circumstances. Only great beings who had reached the ruler realm were qualified to practice it. As for the other internal star secret technique, it was a secret technique related to godly bodies. It was called the Supreme Undying Mysterious Body. This secret technique was used to shape and refine godly bodies. It could make one's godly body incomparably tough and powerful, and it could directly reach the level of a universe true treasure. Besides, this secret technique could be practiced at the level of a principal's master. But the flaw was, when cultivating the secret skill, it required the assistance of some extremely high-level genius earthly treasures, which were very difficult to find. These 2 secret skills were placed in front of Jian Wushuang at the same time, but Jian Wushuang chose the second one decisively. Although the special divine power circulation secret skill can increase a cultivator's divine power and strength, it can only be cultivated by an expert at the ruler realm. Although I'm a perfect chaotic creature with some special features, I can't cultivate it at the immortal saint realm. Even if I break through to the principal's master realm in the future, I may not be qualified to cultivate this secret skill. I don't have so much time to reach the ruler realm. Besides, who knows if I'll have the chance to become a ruler in the future? Jian Wushuang laughed in his heart. A ruler. There were so many astral worlds in this territory, but there were only so many experts at the ruler realm. There were only a few in the divine beginning realm, so it was extremely difficult to reach that level. Although Jian Wushuang had great potential, he did not dare to say that he would definitely be able to break through to become a ruler. Chapter 3579. Supreme Imperishable Body, the ruler is still too far away for me. On the contrary, the second inner star secret skill can be cultivated by Principal's masters. With my life level, I might be able to cultivate it to a certain level at the level of the immortal saint. The only troublesome thing is that it's difficult to find a genius earthly treasure to assist in cultivation. But if I really succeed in cultivating it, Jian Wushuang's eyes were shining. The second internal star secret technique was the undying godly body of a supreme being. This secret technique could make one's godly body indestructible. As long as one completed the first level, one's godly body could rival a low-level universe true treasure. This was too terrifying. Universe true treasures, even if they were only at the level of a low-level universe true treasure, were incredibly tough. There were so many great beings in this territory, but even a ruler realm great being who stood at the top of his territory could not destroy a low-level universe true treasure with his own power. It was because of this level of true treasure, it was not something an ordinary ruler realm great being could shake. If his godly body alone could rival a low-level universe true treasure, then not only would his offensive power increase by another level, but his defensive power would be too strong. Without the strength of a ruler, it would be impossible for a divine body comparable to an elementary universe supreme treasure to destroy his divine power. Even a ruler realm expert would have a hard time dealing with such an indestructible divine body. This was because a ruler realm attack would be weakened to a very low level when it passed through his divine body. Only then would it affect Jian Wushuang's body. The real damage to Jian Wushuang would be very, very small. It could be said that if he could cultivate the first level of the supreme eternal celestial body, he would be able to do whatever he wanted in this territory in the future. Even if he encountered an expert at the ruler realm, he would not be afraid at all. Just the first level alone is enough, and the second and third levels of the supreme eternal celestial body are unimaginable. This secret skill is very useful to me. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands tightly, and a fierce light flashed in his eyes. Taking a deep breath, he said directly, "Lord Wind Demon, I've decided to choose the supreme imperishable body. The body-refining secret skill." The golden war god glanced at Jian Wushuang and nodded slightly. Jian Wushuang's choice was not unexpected. He only had 2 inner star secret skills, and the supreme imperishable body was more suitable for Jian Wushuang than the first one. Now that you've made your choice, come over and drop a drop of blood essence into the stone tablet. After that, you'll be an inner star disciple under the command of planet Lingyun. It'll give you an inner star disciple token. From now on, you can use this token to sense if there are any experts from planet Lingyun around. In addition, this stone tablet will transmit the complete supreme imperishable celestial body technique to your mind. However, although you've obtained the technique, you can only cultivate it by yourself in the future. You can't teach it to others. Even if you want to, it's useless because you can't do it, the Golden War God said. Jian Wushuang shrugged and walked to the golden stone tablet, dropping a drop of his blood essence into it. As soon as the blood essence entered the stone tablet, ancient golden characters floated out of the golden stone tablet and entered Jian Wushuang's body. These characters, Jian Wushuang's expression changed. He did not know what these golden characters were, but he was not unfamiliar with them. There was even a similar golden character on the back of his right hand. This golden character represented the six-path reincarnation secret skill that he had comprehended in the heaven-cleaving secret realm. Heaven-cleaving secret realm, black divine pillar? Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes. When he had obtained the opportunity in the heaven-cleaving secret realm, he had also mastered the six-path reincarnation secret skill. There were a total of 16 such ancient golden characters on the black divine pillar. Later, he learned that the 16 ancient golden characters represented 16 different secret skills. Jian Wushuang was very curious about the origin of the 16 golden characters. Now, he saw the same golden characters, but this time the golden characters surged out from the golden stone tablet. It seems that the black divine pillar of the heaven-cleaving secret realm is from the deepest part of the universe, just like this golden stone tablet, Jian Wushuang murmured. He guessed that these golden characters were passed down from the deepest part of the universe. As for the specific meaning of these golden words, he still did not know. After these golden words entered his body, they completely stayed in his mind. Jian Wushuang could sense the existence of these golden words. At the same time, he also sensed the powerful divine body secret skill contained in these golden words. It seems that before I cultivate the supreme eternal celestial body, I have to comprehend the secret skill from these golden words, Jian Wushuang thought. This is your identity token. Take it, and you can leave this time and space, the Golden War God said. Leave now. Jian Wushuang's expression changed, but he said, Lord Wind Demon, I have obtained a top-tier universe supreme treasure armor in this time and space. I want to completely refine this armor before I go out. It's up to you. In short, I will open the exit passage of this space-time later. This passage is at the end of this direction. The Golden War God pointed in a direction. If you are willing, it doesn't matter if you stay here for a while, but you must not wander around. Master personally arranged this space-time. Although Master is not here now, and my brothers control it, there are some places in this space-time that have strict rules. Even us brothers can't control them. Just like the 18 ultimate formation you just broke through, it was left behind by Master. As long as you fall into it, you can only do as Master asks. We can't stop you, so if you continue to break into some special places, get trapped, or even die, I can only watch. I understand. I'll only refine the supreme treasure armor, and then go out. I won't wander around recklessly, Jian Wushuang said. Okay, you can arrange it yourself. The Golden War God nodded. My brothers are not in their peak condition. They have been sleeping here for a long time. I think they will stay here for a long time. If you encounter any problems in the future, you can come here. We are both from the planet Lingyun. If we can help you, we will do our best to help you. Thank you. Jian Wushuang's eyes lit up. Chapter 3580. Blood Demon Cave. Armor the Golden War God. Wind Demon walked toward the deepest part of the space-time after giving his instructions, and soon disappeared in front of Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang heaved a heavy sigh of relief after the Golden War God left. He had no choice. The invisible pressure of the Golden War God in front of him made it hard for him to breathe. Fortunately, Wind Demon and I belong to the planet Lingyun. From now on, he won't be dangerous to me. Instead, he might be my helper. Jian Wushuang smiled. Then he took out the blood-red armor. The blood-red armor was the Pinnacle Universe supreme treasure armor left behind by the Star Thunder ruler, the Blood Demon Cave armor. The value of the Pinnacle Universe supreme treasure armor was shocking. However, Jian Wushuang had been trapped on the high platform. The test on the high platform was purely based on absolute arts and had little to do with other factors. Therefore, he had not refined the armor, but now, this Blood Demon Cave armor needs to completely master the Destruction Rule or the Slaughter Rule to be refined. Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows. Ordinary Supreme Treasure armor could be refined as long as one's strength was sufficient, but the Blood Demon Cave armor had a high requirement. Not only did it require extremely strong strength to suppress the terrifying murderous aura contained in the armor, but it also required one to completely master one of the destruction or slaughter principles, and Jian Wushuang had mastered the destruction principles. He had also mastered the will of destruction. As for the killing aura in the armor, he could suppress it with his current strength. He was fully qualified to refine the Supreme Treasure armor. Jian Wushuang immediately sat down cross-legged and began to refine the Blood Demon Cave armor in the gray void. The refining process was very smooth and did not encounter any trouble. Soon, the Blood Demon Cave armor turned into a blood-red robe and was put on his body. As for the blood crystal armor that Jian Wushuang was wearing, he naturally put it back into his interspatial ring. After refining the Blood Demon Cave armor, Jian Wushuang immediately understood the power of the armor. It is indeed worthy of being a top-tier universe Supreme Treasure armor. Its power is really strong. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands with a hint of joy on his face. The Blood Demon Cave armor had to be activated by the power of destruction or slaughter. It had an extremely powerful protective ability. When faced with an attack below the Master Realm, which was the level of a Principal's Master, even an extremely powerful Principal's Master at the Pinnacle of the Sixth Realm, or even a Principal's Master at the Pinnacle of the Sixth Realm, the Blood Demon Cave armor could be directly immune to 99% of the attack's power. It meant that a Principal's Master who had reached the Pinnacle of the Sixth Realm would use his full strength to attack Jian Wushuang. When it passed through the Blood Demon Cave armor, its power would be weakened by 99%. In the end, only 1% of the power would be transmitted into Jian Wushuang's body. 1%. Jian Wushuang's expression was strange. His body protection ability was not weak. The most important thing was that his divine power was too vast. Under such circumstances, it was already very difficult for a Principal's Master to seriously injure him. Now that he had the Blood Demon Cave armor, it directly weakened the attack of Principal's Master by 99%. Jian Wushuang estimated that he would no longer need to care about Principal's Master in this territory in the future. Even if the strongest expert, who was comparable to the underworld bone monster, attacked him with all his strength, it would only barely tickle him. And this was only against a Principal's Master. The Blood Demon Cave armor could weaken 90% of the power of an ordinary ruler's attack, which was very impressive. The protective ability of the Blood Demon Cave armor is indeed very strong. Jian Wushuang smiled. Of course, what really surprised him was not the protective ability of the Blood Demon Cave armor, but the power of the armor. The Blood Demon Cave armor was a treasure armor that combined destruction and slaughter, like the Blood Crystal armor. It also contained 3 levels of power, but these 3 levels of power were much more heaven-defying than the Blood Crystal armor. The first level of power that came with the Blood Demon Cave armor directly gave the cultivator 10 times the power of the Pinnacle of the Sixth Realm. The second level of power was 100 times the power of the Pinnacle of the Sixth Realm. The third level of power was 1,000 times the power of an expert at the Pinnacle of the Sixth Realm. The Pinnacle of the Sixth Realm. Before entering this space and time, he had to use all his strength to barely burst out the power of an expert at the Pinnacle of the Sixth Realm. But now, just the first level of power of the Blood Demon Cave armor was activated, It was 10 times the power of an expert at the pinnacle of the sixth realm. It was too terrifying. The power of 10 times the power of an expert at the pinnacle of the sixth realm should be stronger than that of an expert at the pinnacle of the sixth realm, but a ruler definitely can't compare. Jian Wushuang was extremely excited. He understood if he could activate the first level of the power of the Blood Demon Cave armor, his strength would definitely soar to a whole new level in an instant. However, as a top-tier Universe Supreme Treasure armor, it was not easy to activate the first level of power. The power of the Blood Demon Cave armor can be activated by the Rule of Destruction, or the power of the Rule of Slaughter. After all, I have mastered the Will of Destruction. I wonder if I can activate the first level of power, Jian Wushuang thought to himself. Soon he began to try. With this attempt, Jian Wushuang found that he could barely activate the first level of the Blood Demon Cave armor. Yes, it could be activated. It was mainly because he had mastered the Destruction Will. With this Destruction Will, he barely met the requirements to activate the first level of the power. Great! Jian Wushuang was overjoyed. He immediately activated the first level of power of the Blood Demon Cave armor. In an instant, a faint layer of blood-red energy surged up from the blood-red robe he was wearing and covered his entire body. At this moment, Jian Wushuang immediately felt the power of his power, which had increased by countless times. This is the power of the pinnacle of the sixth realm. This is too strong. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands and felt the infinite power in his hands. When he used the heaven-cleaving skill with all his strength, he could barely reach the pinnacle of the sixth realm in an instant. However, compared to the power he had now, the difference was really too great, a full 10 times. If I use the life divine power and the heaven-cleaving skill in my current state, what will happen? With a trace of expectation, Jian Wushuang immediately used the life divine power and the heaven-cleaving skill. However, the result after using them made Jian Wushuang somewhat disappointed. It seems that I'm overthinking. The power I have now is purely given to me by the Blood Demon Cave armor, while the life divine power and heaven-cleaving skill try to bring out my innate advantage. This improvement is based on my own strength. Chapter 3581 was out. Both the life divine power and the heaven-cleaving skill were aimed at his life level. They were aimed at giving full play to his innate advantage in life level. This improvement was purely determined by Jian Wushuang's own strength. He was only an immortal saint now, but these two secret skills could only give him an additional strength equivalent to 2 parts of his will. This was already the limit. Although he now had 10 times the power of the pinnacle of the sixth realm, this power was given to him by the Blood Demon Cave armor, not by himself. Therefore, the life divine power and heaven-cleaving skill did not make much difference to his strength compared to before. In other words, after using these 2 secret skills, his power could only reach the pinnacle of the sixth realm. In addition to the power given by the Blood Demon Cave armor, it was 11 times the power of an expert at the pinnacle of the sixth realm. It's good enough to have such power. I can't be too greedy, Jian Wushuang said with a faint smile. Then he glanced at the high platform behind him with a complicated look. The high platform in the void behind him had trapped him for 97,000 years. It could be said that this period of time was the longest Jian Wushuang had stayed in. However, during the 97,000 years, he had gained a lot from the high platform, and his strength had soared. It could be said that it was a blessing and a curse. I've been in this space-time for too long. It's time for me to leave. Jian Wushuang let out a sigh of relief, and then flew toward the end of the golden war god, wind demon. At the end of this space-time, a dark and boundless passage had been opened. After arriving here, Jian Wushuang did not hesitate and directly stepped into the dark passage. This was still the deepest part of Devil's Smoke Valley, but it was no longer an unknown area. Two figures were moving side by side in the dark and loathsome void. Jian, you heard that not long ago a Pinnacle true treasure was born in the depths of Devil's Smoke Valley. The appearance of this Pinnacle true treasure was so shocking that it attracted dozens of experts to fight for it. There were even 3 experts who had reached the limit of the 6th realm. Unfortunately, they did not get the Pinnacle true treasure. Instead, it was taken away by the Muddy Sky ruler who happened to pass by, said the gray-robed elder with messy hair. Of course I've heard about such a big thing, said the other middle-aged man with darker skin. Pinnacle true treasures. It's said that most of the warriors at the pinnacle of the 6th realm don't have Pinnacle true treasures. Only a few of them are terrifyingly powerful, have heaven-defying opportunities, or have great backgrounds. Only those at the pinnacle of the 6th realm can have one, and they are only attack true treasures. Of course, a true treasure at this level would attract people's covetous eyes. Alas, I don't know when you and I will also have a Pinnacle true treasure. You want a Pinnacle true treasure? The messy-haired old man in gray robe glanced at the middle-aged man. I don't have that luxury. As long as I can get 1 or 2 top-tier universe true treasures here, I'll be satisfied. It'd be best if I can get a top-tier true treasure armor. Top-tier true treasure armor? I don't know if we'll be able to survive. The two of them were talking leisurely, but when they passed by a cliff, their expressions changed, and they immediately looked to the side. That direction was in the middle of the cliff, and there was a huge black hole emitting endless dark energy. The black hole even formed an unfathomable vortex, as if it wanted to devour everything around it. Seeing this huge black hole, the two were not unfamiliar with it. It's the life and death realm. It's the legendary life and death realm. Ever since this life and death realm was discovered, many experts have entered this life and death realm to roam about. There have even been ruler realm experts who have entered, but as long as they enter, no one has ever been able to walk out alive. The two of them were somewhat shocked by this enormous black hole in front of them. Right now, they were only passing by this place. However, they had never thought of entering this realm of life and death to investigate the situation. The reason why they had stopped here was because they had sensed that this realm of life and death had actually produced a rather large ripple. What's going on? Although this realm of life and death is a realm of certain death, it has been very peaceful for a long period of time. I've never heard of any large ripples occurring within the realm of life and death, but now, the gray-robed old man with messy hair frowned. The life and death realm is simply too dangerous. No matter what happens to it, I feel that the two of us should leave as soon as possible, the tan-skinned, middle-aged man said. It could be seen that he was indeed too wary of the life and death realm. There's no rush. Let's wait and see. The gray-robed old man waved his hand, and his eyes flickered with a light. There must be something fishy going on. It's true that the life and death realm is extremely dangerous, but the changes it's going through could also be a great opportunity. Opportunity. The middle-aged man was startled. Yes, it might be an opportunity, but it might also be dangerous. However, since we've encountered such a strange change in the life and death realm, how can the two of us just leave like this? No matter what, let's take a look first. If we sense something amiss later, well, leave, said the gray-robed elder. The middle-aged man nodded as well. The two of them had been adventuring in the depths of Devil's Smoke Valley for many years. They had encountered all sorts of dangers before, and they were well aware of the principle of seeking fortune amidst danger. Under normal circumstances, fortuitous encounters would always be accompanied by danger. However, this change in the life and death realm might be dangerous, but it could also be fortuitous encounters. There was indeed no reason for them to leave just like that. "Let's go. Let's retreat a little further and watch from a distance," said the gray-robed old man. The two of them immediately retreated until they were quite far away from the life and death realm. Only then did they stop and watch the life and death realm from a distance. At this moment, the life and death realm was emitting a greater and greater commotion. The enormous black hole that had formed a vortex began to tremble crazily. Suddenly, a bloody light suddenly appeared in the originally dark black hole. This bloody light was becoming increasingly dazzling. In the next moment, this bloody light leaped out from the depths of the black hole. "Ha ha! You have finally come out." A hearty laughter reverberated across this place as the bloody light rushed out. When the gray-robed elder and the middle-aged man saw this scene, they were both stunned. This is a human cultivator. The change that happened at the life and death realm was because of him? Did he just walk out of the life and death realm? The two were stunned. Chapter 3582, Greed the Life and Death Realm. Both of them had just said that the life and death realm was a place where death was inevitable. Even an expert at the level of a ruler could not walk out of it alive. But now, someone had walked out of the life and death realm right under their noses. How could they not be shocked? Jian Wushuang, who had just walked out of the life and death realm, had naturally discovered the existence of these two people. There are actually people here. Could it be that this is no longer an unexplored area? Jian Wushuang frowned. The unexplored area of Devil's Smoke Valley was too dangerous and filled with too many unknowns. Therefore, very few cultivators entered it, and the chances of encountering it were very slim. Now that Jian Wushuang saw the two people in front of him, he subconsciously wondered if he was still in the unknown region of Devil's Smoke Valley. Without hesitation, Jian Wushuang rushed toward the two people. "You should be the Gray Python Master and the Death Slayer Master from the Jade River Star World, right?" Jian Wushuang looked at the two people in front of him. "It's us." The gray-robed elder, the Gray Python Master, stared at Jian Wushuang. "Who are you?" "Blood Sword of Star Palace," Jian Wushuang answered. "Blood Sword Master, Gray Python Master, and Death Slayer Master both looked at Jian Wushuang carefully. Yes, he is indeed Bloodsword Master. However, didn't he disappear after entering the unknown region? Even Star Palace announced his death. How did he come out of the life and death realm? Gray Python Master was surprised. Jian Wushuang asked, "Where are we now?" Jian Wushuang really did not know where he was. Even when he saw the huge black hole, he did not recognize it immediately. This is the deep part of Devil's Smoke Valley, and the huge black hole behind you is the infamous life and death realm, the Death Slayer Master said. "Life and death realm?" Jian Wushuang looked at the black hole behind him with a strange expression. He was in the special space-time, but the special space-time was in the unknown region. He did not expect to come directly to the life and death realm after walking out of the passage opened by Wind Demon. Moreover, he came out of the life and death realm. Is the life and death realm connected to the special space? No wonder no one has come out of the life and death realm in such a long time. Jian Wushuang sighed to himself. While he was sighing, the look on the faces of the Gray Python Master and the Death Slayer Master had begun to change. This Blood Sword Master has been missing for nearly 100,000 years. Everyone thought he was dead, but they didn't expect him to be alive and well. Furthermore, he walked out of the life and death realm. What exactly has he experienced during these 100,000 years? What is in the life and death realm? The Gray Python Master narrowed his eyes. "Gray Python, what are you thinking about?" The Death Slayer Master looked over. What do you think? The corner of Gray Python Master's mouth curled up into a sneer. Without a doubt, this blood sword master must have had a very special encounter in the past 100,000 years. He might even have obtained a great opportunity, not to mention other things. Just the fact that he walked out of the life and death realm is already very worthy of our consideration. And now you and I are the first to discover that he is still alive and walked out of the life and death realm. This is definitely a once-in-lifetime opportunity for us. You're right. I think so too. Moreover, before the Blood Sword Master went missing, he only had the battle strength of the initial stage of the Sixth Realm. Even if he had a great opportunity in the past 100,000 years and his strength increased a lot with our strength, we should be able to take him down very easily if we work together. The Death Slayer Master also nodded slightly. Since that's the case, then it's decided. The Gray Python Master smiled. The two of them conversed in secret and reached a consensus in the blink of an eye. At this moment, Jian Wushuang cupped his hands and said, "Thank you for informing me. Goodbye." After knowing where he was, Jian Wushuang turned around and intended to leave. However, as soon as he moved, Gray Python Master and Death Slayer Master immediately surrounded him and sandwiched him between the left and right. What do you mean by this? Jian Wushuang looked at the two people around him indifferently. Blood Sword Master, you disappeared for nearly 100,000 years. Everyone thought you were dead, but you're still alive. If I'm not wrong, you must have had a very special encounter during these 100,000 years, right? Gray Python Master stared at Jian Wushuang with a strange look. Yes, I have had some strange encounters. Jian Wushuang did not deny it. There was nothing to deny. He had disappeared in the unexplored area for nearly 100,000 years. Anyone could guess that he must have had some strange encounters. Can you tell us about your encounters? The Gray Python Master asked. Just tell you about my encounters over the years? Jian Wushuang looked at the two around him with a playful look. Don't you want me to hand over my interspatial ring and see if I've gotten any great opportunities over the years? If that's the case, ITL'll be even better. Gray Python Master smiled coldly. He and Death Slayer Master did not try to hide it anymore. There was clearly a hint of greed in their eyes. Upon seeing their expressions, Jian Wushuang could not help but sneer in his heart. He knew their intentions. He had disappeared for nearly 100,000 years in the undiscovered region, but he had walked out of the life and death realm, which meant that he must have had a great opportunity. It was likely that he had obtained a great opportunity, which was something that the Gray Python Master and the Death Slayer Master yearned for. In addition, the Gray Python Master and the Death Slayer Master were both very strong, and their battle strength was close to or even comparable to the Pinnacle of the Sixth Realm. Naturally, they thought that they would be able to defeat him if they joined forces. Gentlemen, I advise you to put aside your thoughts and let me go. Otherwise, you will regret it, Jian Wushuang said. Regret? Gray Python Master smiled. Blood Sword Master, you think too highly of yourself. With your strength, even if you've had a great encounter over the years, you won't be able to do anything to us. Since that's the case, there's nothing more to say. Since you want to know what happened to me over the years, you can attack me directly. Jian Wushuang waved at Gray Python Master. There was a hint of contempt in his tone. Attack! Gray Python Master and Death Slayer Master did not hesitate. They exchanged glances and attacked at the same time. Chapter 3583. Jian Wushuang's terrifying strength. It had to be said that the Gray Python Master and the Death Slayer Master had a certain amount of strength to rely on when they dared to target Jian Wushuang. Both of them were barely comparable to experts at the pinnacle of the sixth realm. Both of them attacked at the same time with their full strength. Boom, boom. Two shocking auras attacked Jian Wushuang at the same time, one from the left and the other from the right. Among them, Gray Python Master held a strange dark green long whip. The long whip swept like a flood dragon and directly covered Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang did not have any intention of resisting or dodging. He just let the long whip bind his body. It's bound. Gray Python Master's eyes lit up. He did not know why Jian Wushuang did not dodge or block. Perhaps it was because he was too fast and Jian Wushuang did not have time to react. But no matter what, Jian Wushuang was now completely bound by him. There was no chance for him to make a move in a short period of time. On the other side, Death Slayer Master rushed over with a giant axe in both hands. Endless power surged into the giant axe. Boom! The giant axe cut through the air and chopped down at Jian Wushuang in a mighty manner. This axe was Death Slayer Master's most powerful axe. It was also an absolute art at the peak of stage 6, and its power was extremely powerful. Death Slayer Master's eyes shone brightly when the axe fell. I got it! Gray Python Master also smiled. The two of them were best friends. They often roamed the 3 battlefields together, so they had a good understanding of each other. For example, this time, the two of them cooperated very well. Gray Python Master immediately tied Jian Wushuang up, while Death Slayer Master used his most powerful move to attack Jian Wushuang. He did not give Jian Wushuang any chance to struggle. Sure enough, the giant axe hit Jian Wushuang's divine body without any obstruction. Clang! A sound like metal colliding rang out. The blood-red robe Jian Wushuang was wearing had a faint blood-red luster, and the power of the axe was reduced by 99% at once. Only 1% of the power was transmitted to Jian Wushuang's body, and he could easily withstand the power. You two work well together. Jian Wushuang stood there quietly with a smile on his face. While speaking, he deliberately blinked at Gray Python Master and Death Slayer Master. How is this possible? Gray Python Master and Death Slayer Master were both shocked. Death Slayer Master's strongest axe had clearly struck Jian Wushuang's divine body. Even if those experts at the peak of stage 6, who had powerful defensive skills, were to rely on their divine bodies to withstand such an axe, they would at least suffer some damage. But what about Jian Wushuang? He took the blow head-on, but his face remained calm, and his divine body did not move at all. He completely ignored my attack. Death Slayer Master's eyes widened. At this moment, Jian Wushuang smiled again. You've used your tricks. Now it's my turn. As soon as he finished his words, he saw a burst of blood-red light surging on the blood-red robe, instantly giving Jian Wushuang a shocking power. Jian Wushuang's body trembled slightly. The dark green whip that was originally bound to his body was directly pushed back. Jian Wushuang easily broke free from the restraint and then pulled out the Blood Mountain sword behind him. Yes, he only used the Blood Mountain sword, which was not even an elementary universe supreme treasure. But on the other side, he had already activated the first level of power of the Blood Demon Cave armor. In an instant, 10 times the power of an expert at the pinnacle of the 6th realm gathered in his hands, and then he directly slashed down with his sword. This strike immediately triggered the universe origin of the sword principle, the unparalleled sword manual, Xixiang. Boom! This extremely violent strike triggered the universe origin and instantly formed a shocking blood-red sword rainbow. Its power was even more earth-shattering. It must be known that during the 97,000 years that Jian Wushuang was trapped in the 18 Ultimate Formation, his swordsmanship had received an incredible improvement. In the unparalleled sword manual, these moves of his Jian Wushuang had all reached the level of a level 7 absolute art. The Shi Xiang move was a level 7 absolute art, which was an absolute art at the ruler realm. In addition, it was performed by Jian Wushuang with the power of 10 times that of an expert at the pinnacle of the 6th realm. The sword instantly slashed toward the gray python master in front of him. The gray python master also waved the long whip in his hand in an attempt to block it. However, the moment the long whip came into contact with the blood-red sword rainbow, it was sent flying. The sword light did not hinder it at all, and it struck the divine body of the gray python master. Gray python master was, after all, a great being who was barely comparable to a pinnacle of 6 levels, and his protective ability was not weak. He also had an advanced universe true treasure armor protecting his body. However, when faced with this sword, the result was bang. Gray Python Master's eyes were still wide open. The armor protecting his body was not damaged, but his godly body had been instantly exploded, and all the godly power in his body had been completely annihilated. Not a single bit of it was left. In just a moment, Gray Python Master had died. He's an expert at the pinnacle of the 6th realm. How could he be so weak? Jian Wushuang looked at Gray Python Master, who was already dead, and could not help twitching his lips. He casually took the whip, the true treasure armor, and his interspatial ring that Gray Python Master had left behind. In fact, it was not because the Gray Python Master was weak, but because Jian Wushuang was too strong. The power of an expert at the pinnacle of the 6th realm was 10 times stronger than that of most experts at the pinnacle of the 6th realm. In terms of power, Jian Wushuang was no weaker than the 3 masters of the Saint realm in the divine beginning realm. This was only his own power. However, the swordsmanship that Jian Wushuang had just displayed was a 7th level absolute art at the ruler realm. The 3 masters of the Saint realm had never mastered such an absolute art. In other words, the strength that Jian Wushuang had just displayed was enough to crush the 3 masters of the Saint realm in the divine beginning realm. On the other hand, the Gray Python Master was barely comparable to an expert at the pinnacle of the 6th realm. How could he withstand his attack? Naturally, he was killed in one strike. The Gray Python Master is dead, but the Death Slayer Master is fast enough. Jian Wushuang glanced at the surrounding void. When the Death Slayer Master, who had attacked him together with the Gray Python Master, sensed that something was wrong, he immediately retreated. When he saw that Death Slayer Master was killed by Jian Wushuang, he was scared out of his wits. Therefore, he chose to escape without hesitation. Now, he was out of Jian Wushuang's sight. Jian Wushuang could not chase after him. I said you would regret it, but you didn't believe me. Jian Wushuang curled his lips and left immediately. Chapter 3584. News of his survival in the void, not far away from the life and death realm, the Death Slayer Master, who had been running away in a panic, finally stopped. Although he had stopped, he was sure that Jian Wushuang would not come after him again. However, the Death Slayer Master still looked fearful. How could Bloodsword Master be so strong? He was also terrified. Yes, the strength that Jian Wushuang had just displayed was too strong. It was so strong that he felt hopeless. He did not have the courage to fight back at all. When I struck him with my axe with all my strength, he did not move at all, and his divine body was not damaged at all. Even an expert at the pinnacle of the 6th realm with a top-tier true treasure armor would not be able to do that, right? And that sword attack just now, I couldn't understand the mysteries of that sword at all. But with this sword attack, Gray Python Master was actually killed, and there was no room for struggle at all. Death Slayer Master widened his eyes. In his mind, he kept recalling the scene that had just happened. His most powerful axe attack could not shake his opponent in the slightest. The battle strength of the Gray Python Master was barely at the pinnacle of the sixth realm, but the opponent had killed him with a single strike. What kind of strength was that? Before the Blood Sword Master disappeared, his battle strength was far less terrifying. The Death Slayer Master narrowed his eyes again. Obviously, Jian Wushuang must have gotten an incredible opportunity during the nearly 100,000 years that he had been missing. That was why his strength had improved by leaps and bounds, just as they had guessed. Unfortunately, he and the Gray Python Master had guessed that Jian Wushuang had obtained a great opportunity, but they did not think that his strength would increase by much. However, the result was different. In less than 100,000 years, his strength has improved to such an extent. What kind of opportunities did he encounter during these years? What opportunities did he obtain? Unfortunately, I have no way to know. The Death Slayer Master clenched his hands. He knew very well that even if Jian Wushuang had obtained an incredible opportunity, it was not something he could covet now. After all, Jian Wushuang's strength was there. Although I can't get the opportunity in your hands again, I will never let go of the grudge against Gray Python Master. His eyes were cold. He and Gray Python Master were good friends who had known each other for many years. They often worked together in the 3 battlefields, so their relationship was naturally extraordinary. Gray Python Master had died at Jian Wushuang's hands. Although they had provoked Jian Wushuang on their own initiative, he would still hold a grudge against them. After pondering for a moment, he immediately thought of a way to take revenge on Jian Wushuang. Blood Sword Master, it's true that I can't do anything to you or take revenge for Gray Python Master, but that doesn't mean that others can't either. Death Slayer Master clenched his teeth and took out token after token. Skydock Island Master, let me tell you something. M.O.E., you should be wandering around the core area of Devil's Smoke Valley right now, right? I just learned something that might interest you. Ice Mist King, I heard that you once had a close friend who didn't receive any news after breaking into the life and death realm. But now, someone has walked out of the life and death realm alive. Frost Bugmaster, there are many experts in the North Sea Palace. There should be many experts wandering in the depths of Devil's Smoke Valley. I have some news that you should be very interested in. Death Slayer Master took out a token and sent a message to the owner of the token. He told them that Jian Wushuang was still alive and had walked out of the life and death realm. After all, he was a principal's master who had lived for a long time. He had roamed the 3 battlefields all year round, so there were many strong experts. Now, he was like all the strong experts he had met. He had sent the message, so there were about 30 to 40 experts in total. Although most of the experts were not very strong and could not pose a threat to Jian Wushuang, he knew that after these principal's masters heard the news, they would definitely tell him. They would immediately inform their forces or friends of the news. In this way, it would not be long before all the experts in the territory knew about the news. After the news was completely made public, he believed that many experts would be interested in Jian Wushuang. After all, Jian Wushuang was the first expert to emerge from the life and death realm in a long time. No one knew the secrets of the life and death realm until now. Secondly, Jian Wushuang had disappeared in the unknown region for nearly 100,000 years. He had disappeared for 100,000 years. Now that his strength had soared, everyone could guess that he must have had a special encounter in the past 100,000 years. He must have obtained a great opportunity. And who would not be interested in such a special opportunity and great opportunity? He believed that once the news spread out, the entire territory would be shocked and countless experts would be eyeing Jian Wushuang. In addition, he was careful when he spread the news. He only said that Jian Wushuang's strength had soared after he came out of the life and death realm and that he had killed the Gray Python Master, but he did not explain how Jian Wushuang had killed the Gray Python Master. He was worried that if he spread the news that Jian Wushuang had killed the Gray Python Master in one strike under his and the Gray Python Master's joint attack, it would scare all the experts. As a result, even though the experts knew that Jian Wushuang had a great opportunity, no one dared to find trouble with him. It could be said that the Death Slayer Master's plan was very clever. The result was just as the Death Slayer Master had expected. However, after the news that Jian Wushuang had walked out of the life and death realm alive, and that his strength had increased drastically spread, the entire territory was in an uproar. All the experts were shocked by the news. They were not shocked that Jian Wushuang was still alive, but mainly because he had walked out of the life and death realm. In addition, Jian Wushuang's strength had skyrocketed. Almost everyone had already determined that Jian Wushuang must have encountered something special and obtained a great opportunity in the past 100,000 years. Such a great opportunity was coveted by countless people. In an instant, a large number of experts directly stared at Jian Wushuang, especially the top experts who had been adventuring in the depths of Devil Smoke Valley. In the depths of Devil Smoke Valley, in a deep black thunder sea, a cold middle-aged man, wearing a black robe and carrying a flickering black thunder on his back, slowly stepped out of the thunder sea. His eyes were extremely sharp. Someone actually walked out of the life and death realm alive. Interesting. The middle-aged man in the black robe raised his head, and in the next moment, he transformed into a black lightning bolt and rushed towards the direction of the life and death realm. Chapter 3585. All parties were shaken. There was a huge red rock on the top of a huge red peak that seemed to have been burned by fire. This huge red rock had existed on the top of this huge peak for millions of years. During these millions of years, many cultivators had passed by this huge peak. However, when these cultivators saw this huge red rock, they were all filled with fear. Then they quickly went around it. However, today, the giant red rock began to shake violently. Then it slowly fell off. A cold and arrogant woman wearing a scarlet armor slowly opened her eyes and stood up. It has been many years since the life and death realm was discovered. No one has ever been able to walk out of the life and death realm. However, this Bloodsword Master actually walked out of the life and death realm alive. Moreover, his strength has greatly improved. He must have obtained an incredible opportunity. I have already stepped into the pinnacle of the sixth realm for an unknown period of time. I have been trapped under this bottleneck for a very long period of time. I have put in endless effort, but I have never been able to advance further. At this moment, I understand that if I want to break through and become a ruler, there is only one way, and that is through opportunity. Only that once-in-lifetime opportunity can help me break through. As for this Bloodsword Master, I might have a chance. The cold and arrogant woman's aura was as cold as ice. She raised her head and glanced at the void in front of her. With one step, she appeared 10,000 li away. An endless storm covered the entire world. This was a famous, dangerous place in Devil Smoke Valley, the Sea of Bloodwind. Although it was a dangerous place, it was a necessary path for the astral world experts who were closer to the north to enter the depths of Devil Smoke Valley. Whoosh! The blood-colored hurricane swept wildly, and a short, barefooted youth flew out of the blood-colored hurricane and landed in the void outside. After nearly 100 years, I finally walked out of this godforsaken place. The barefooted youth's face was filled with a smile, and his entire person appeared carefree. However, his gaze was like a gem, bright and spirited. Previously, I was mostly in closed-door cultivation or adventuring in the other two great battlefields. In the depths of Devil Smoke Valley, I haven't been here for over 1 billion years. It's rare for me to come here this time, so I want to stay here for a period of time. Moreover, that disciple of mine just sent news. It's said that a blood sword master who has been missing for nearly 100,000 years has walked out of the life and death realm alive. Life and death realm. Even if a ruler entered that place, there's no chance of survival. He actually survived. Thanks. There must be some special reason. This life and death realm is not far from my location. I can make a trip there. Hopefully, I'll be lucky enough to meet the blood sword master. The barefoot youth smiled wickedly and then strode forward. It was not just the three principals masters. All the experts in the deepest part of Devil's Smoke Valley were excited when they heard the news. A large number of experts rushed to the life and death realm, hoping that they could meet Jian Wushuang. Then they would find a way to find out what had happened to Jian Wushuang. If possible, they wanted to figure out what had happened to Jian Wushuang, or even seize the opportunity that Jian Wushuang had obtained. Star Palace had also received the news that had shocked the entire territory. When they had first received the news, the senior experts of Star Palace had been extremely shocked. Blood Sword Master, isn't that Heavenly Sword Marquis? Heavenly Sword Marquis didn't die. Are you kidding me? He entered the unknown region and has been missing for nearly 100,000 years. Acts 1 Master, Marquis Duanyu, Star Saint Master, and 7 Emotions Master looked at each other in disbelief. Acts 1, send a message to Heavenly Sword Marquis to confirm this news. 7 Emotions Master immediately said, Okay. Acts 1 Master immediately sent a message to Jian Wushuang and soon received his reply. Acts 1 Master, how have you been? Jian Wushuang was very relaxed. My little friend, is it really you? Are you really alive? Acts 1 Master was very excited. Of course, I'm still alive. Jian Wushuang smiled. I just had some special encounters and was trapped for a while. Fortunately, I got out of it in time. Good. You're not dead. That's great. Acts 1 Master was pleasantly surprised. You don't know, we thought you had died more than 8,000 years ago after you completely lost contact with us. We still held on to the last glimmer of hope, but after you lost contact with us for 30,000 years, we lost all hope. We even reported this news to Palace Master, who was very disappointed when he found out. Palace Master? Senior Xian Shun? Jian Wushuang nodded secretly. He understood that Star Palace Master, who was Daoist Xianshun, was probably the super expert left behind by the 7-star mysterious sect. He also knew his mission, and that he might be the only hope for the 7-star mysterious sect to rise again. Naturally, he had high expectations of himself. How could Daoist Xianshun not be disappointed when he heard the news of his death? It's good now that you're not dead. If Palace Master finds out about this, he will be very happy, Acts 1 Master said. Jian Wushuang also nodded slightly. By the way, let's not talk about this now. Let's talk about your current situation. My young friend, I'm afraid that your current situation is not good. Acts 1 Master's expression became serious. Not good? What do you mean? Jian Wushuang was puzzled. Let me ask you first. Were you trapped in the life and death realm before? After you escaped, you walked out of the life and death realm. You even met the Gray Python Master and killed him? Acts 1 Master asked. I don't know if I was trapped in the life and death realm, but I did walk out of the life and death realm. I also met the Gray Python Master. However, I met both the Gray Python Master and the Fallen Execution Master. The Gray Python Master really died at my hands. Jian Wushuang said. That's right, one Master said in a deep voice. Although the Gray Python Master died, the Death Slayer Master had survived. In order to take revenge on you, he immediately spread the news that you had come out of the life and death realm alive. Now, everyone knows about it. My dear Heavenly Sword Marquis, you should understand that no one can come out of the life and death realm alive, but you did it. Moreover, you have been missing for nearly 100,000 years. After you reappeared, your strength suddenly increased so much that you could even kill the Gray Python Master. Anyone can guess that you must have had a great opportunity in the past 100,000 years. Chapter 3586, The Target of Public Criticism. Indeed. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. If he knew that someone else had such an experience, he would definitely believe that he had obtained a great opportunity. My young friend, there is one more thing you should understand. For those experts who have been wandering in the 3 battlefields all year round, treasures are not the most attractive to them. What really makes them ecstatic are some special great opportunities. Therefore, after you are certain that you have obtained a great opportunity over the years, you are bound to become a target for everyone. Countless experts will be eyeing you. It's not surprising that many experts have already headed in your direction. They are all here for your opportunities. Moreover, among those experts who are eyeing you, there are some top experts who have reached the pinnacle of the 6th realm. There might even be experts at the ruler realm eyeing you. Acts 1 Master said seriously, Ruler? Jian Wushuang's face darkened. For the current him, even Elder Darkbone, an expert at the pinnacle of the 6th realm who had lived for God knows how many years, could not pose any threat to him. As for the other principal's masters, no matter how many they came, he would not care. But he had to be afraid of the ruler realm experts. After all, he could not confront the ruler head-on at the moment. In that case, I'm really in big trouble now, Jian Wushuang said in a low voice. It's not just big trouble. You're in the middle of a crisis. If you're not careful, you might be killed. So you must be extra careful now. Try to hide yourself or find a place to hide first. I'll immediately report this to the palace master and see what he thinks. Acts 1 Master said, I'll be careful, but I won't go so far as to hide. Jian Wushuang smiled. It was not because he was too arrogant, but because he knew his current strength and means. Although he had become the target of public criticism, he had to be careful. However, it was not necessary for him to hide. After all, only a Master Realm expert could threaten him. There were not many Master Realm experts, so he did not know whether a master would target him or not. Even if a master did target him, the depths of Devil's Smoke Valley were so big, so it would not be easy for the ruler to meet him. Of course, the most important thing was that Jian Wushuang was not afraid of a ruler. However, if a ruler appeared in front of him and attacked him, he was not afraid because he felt that a single ruler would not be able to kill him. Anyway, I've already told you. You make your own decision. I'll send a message to Palace Master first. Acts 1 Master said, Okay. Jian Wushuang nodded. After the message was cut off, Acts 1 Master could not help but sigh. How is it? Marquis Duanyu, Star Saint Master, and 7 Emotions Master looked over. Heavenly Sword Marquis, you're still alive. The news that was spread earlier is also true. He walked out of the life and death realm, Acts 1 Master said. That's great. Marquis Duanyu was overjoyed. He disappeared from the undiscovered region for nearly 100,000 years and is still alive. Furthermore, he walked out from the life and death realm in the end. This Heavenly Sword Marquis really has some ability. 7 Emotions Master could not help but praise. It's not too early to be happy. After all, Heavenly Sword Marquis is currently in a bad situation. He has already become the target of everyone. I have to report this matter to the Palace Master immediately and let him decide. Acts 1 Master said, Yes, Palace Master is very powerful. He must have a way to help Heavenly Sword Marquis. Marquis Duanyu nodded. Acts 1 Master immediately set off to meet Star Palace Master. On the other side, after Jian Wushuang had finished talking with Axe 1 Master and received the exact news from him, his expression became serious. Death Slayer is really good. He spread the news and made me the target of everyone. If I'm not careful, I might die. This way, he can avenge the Gray Python Master. Jian Wushuang's eyes were cold. At the same time, there are some regrets. If he had known that the Death Slayer Master would bring him so much trouble after he escaped, then when he had been attacked by the Death Slayer Master and the Gray Python Master, he should have killed both of them at the same time. If he had killed the Death Slayer Master at the same time, this trouble would naturally have been gone. Unfortunately, his strength had just soared, and because he had the Blood Demon Cave armor on him, he wanted to test the protective ability of the Blood Demon Cave armor himself, so he did not use his full strength at the beginning. This gave the Death Slayer Master a chance to escape. Now, it was too late for him to kill the Death Slayer Master. Forget it. Although the Death Slayer Master has caused me a lot of trouble, I should be able to deal with him now, Jian Wushuang muttered, and then rushed toward the void in front of him. Sacred Island. In the magnificent palace. What did you say? Heavenly Sword Marquis is not dead. On the throne in front of him, the white-haired elder looked down at the principal's master, who was kneeling at the pinnacle of the sixth realm. A terrifying chill instantly rose in his heart. The principal's master, who was at the pinnacle of the sixth realm, was so scared that he broke out in a cold sweat. However, he still forced himself to say, "My lord, the news has been confirmed. Heavenly Sword Marquis is indeed not dead, and he has survived the life and death realm. His strength has soared. Now, the experts of all the forces in the territory believe that he has obtained an incredible opportunity in the past 100,000 years. Many experts have already set their eyes on him." Humph! The white-haired elder snorted and stood up. His eyes were cold and emotionless. "I don't care if he got lucky or not, but the purpose of this trip is to kill him. Now that we know he is not dead, we must kill him immediately. Tong Luo, Evil Light." The white-haired elder took out 2 communication tokens and sent them to them. "Heavenly Sword Marquis is not dead yet, and he should be near the life and death realm in the core of Devil's Smoke Valley. You 2 go and kill him immediately." Tong Luo and Evil Light were the other 2 rulers who came with the white-haired elder. The 3 of them came to this territory to kill Jian Wushuang, but because Jian Wushuang had disappeared in the unexplored area, everyone thought he was dead, so they relaxed. The white-haired elder continued to stay on the sacred island, but the other 2 went to the 3 battlefields. Because Jian Wushuang had disappeared in Devil's Smoke Valley, the 2 Master Realm experts also stayed in the depths of Devil's Smoke Valley to play it safe. Chapter 3587. The first expert was at the pinnacle of the sixth realm in the depths of Devil's Smoke Valley. "My young friend, I have reported the matter to Palace Master. He is very happy to know that you are still alive. At the same time, he also knows your current situation, so he has sent a message to his good friend to pick you up." Axe 1 Master sent a message. Palace Master's good friend. Jian Wushuang's expression changed. Star Palace Master was a genuine ruler expert, but his good friend was also a ruler, right? Palace Master is not in the depths of Devil's Smoke Valley, so it will take him some time to get here. So he asked you to go to Wushuang Lake first, and he will get there as soon as possible, Axe 1 Master said. "Wushuang Lake." Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. He immediately took out the star map and found the location of Wushuang Lake. Wushuang Lake was still some distance away from his current location. At his speed, it would take him at least 3 to 5 years to get there. "Tell him that I will get to Wushuang Lake as soon as possible," Jian Wushuang said. "Well, be careful," Axe 1 Master said, and then cut off the communication. Then, Jian Wushuang immediately rushed toward the Wushuang Lake according to the directions on the star map. However, because the journey was quite far, he would definitely meet other cultivators on the way. Sure enough, after only 5 days of rushing toward the Wushuang Lake, he met a principal's master at the pinnacle of the sixth realm. The principal's master noticed Jian Wushuang's existence immediately, but he did not rush up to fight Jian Wushuang. Instead, he chose to follow Jian Wushuang from a distance, which made Jian Wushuang's face slightly gloomy. Dragon Swan Master, if you're really capable, you can come up and fight me. But you want fight, you want retreat. What do you want to do? Jian Wushuang stared in the direction of Dragon Swan Master. His low voice had already spread out. Bloodsword Master, you go your own way, I'll go mine. I'm not in your way, what do you care? Dragon Swan Master replied, but in his heart, Dragon Swan Master sneered, Humph, fight you head on? I'm not stupid. Dragon Swan Master knew that Jian Wushuang had killed Gray Python Master. Gray Python Master could be considered an expert at the pinnacle of the sixth realm. Although he was weaker than Gray Python Master, he was not much weaker. However, Bloodsword Master had killed Gray Python Master head-on. It was possible that Bloodsword Master would kill him head-on. Therefore, he naturally did not dare to fight Jian Wushuang head-on. However, as long as he did not face him head-on, he believed that Bloodsword Master would not be able to kill him by following him from a distance. And that was indeed the case. Although Jian Wushuang had the strength to easily kill Dragon Swan Master, his strength was 10 times that of an expert at the pinnacle of the sixth realm, which was given to him by the Blood Demon Cave armor. However, he was not fast compared to Dragon Swan Master. His speed was probably a little slower. His speed was not as fast as Dragon Swan Master, and Dragon Swan Master did not take the initiative to rush forward. He just followed him from afar and kept a distance from him. Of course, Jian Wushuang could not do anything about it. Although Dragon Swan Master can't threaten me, he has been following me. He can spread my whereabouts at any time and let the experts who have their eyes on me swarm over. Jian Wushuang's expression was a little unsightly, but he soon calmed down. Forget it. Since I'm destined to be unable to hide my whereabouts, I'll just do it openly. I'll let everyone know my location and let the experts who have designs on me come looking for me. When the time comes, I'll let everyone watch. I, Jian Wushuang, am not someone who can be easily targeted. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands. His eyes were filled with killing intent. Jian Wushuang could not control Dragon Swan Master, and just as Jian Wushuang had expected, Dragon Swan Master followed him and told many people where Jian Wushuang was. After knowing Jian Wushuang's location, the experts who had their eyes on him naturally swarmed over. Time passed, and a month passed in the blink of an eye. During this month, more and more principals' masters came to Jian Wushuang's side, but now there were dozens of them. However, among the dozens of principals' masters, the strongest was only at the pinnacle of the sixth realm. They all knew that Jian Wushuang had killed the Gray Python Master, so they did not dare to act rashly even when they saw him. The dozens of experts only followed behind Jian Wushuang and did not make a move. They were waiting for more experts to arrive. Once they had a certain lineup, they would join hands to deal with Jian Wushuang. Or an expert at the pinnacle of the sixth realm would appear. In the eyes of the experts from various forces, if Jian Wushuang could kill the Gray Python Master, his battle strength should have reached the pinnacle of the sixth realm, and if they wanted to snatch the opportunity from him, naturally, the experts at the peak of the six realms had to take action. In the gray void, Jian Wushuang was still moving forward at a leisurely pace. His soul power had already spread out, and he could see all the experts around him. There are more and more people coming, but these people alone are not enough. Jian Wushuang smiled lightly. Among the experts, there were only 6 at the pinnacle of the sixth realm. The others had not even reached the pinnacle of the sixth realm. Even if they joined hands, he would not care. At this moment, in the distant void, a vague figure suddenly appeared. At first, the figure was far away, but in just a moment, the figure had arrived in front of Jian Wushuang and blocked him. Jian Wushuang's expression changed, and he stopped walking and looked up at the person. It was a short, barefoot youth with a blood-red saber on his back. He had a pair of dark green eyes and looked extremely evil. Finally, a decent expert has arrived. Seeing the person, the corners of Jian Wushuang's mouth curled up slightly. He knew that ordinary experts, even those at the pinnacle of the sixth realm, would not dare to stand in front of him directly, because he had shown that he could kill an expert at the pinnacle of the sixth realm directly. However, this person dared to stand in front of him directly, which showed that he was absolutely confident in his strength. Jian Wushuang had recognized this person, so he naturally understood why this person was so confident. Blood Saber Emperor from the Unity Star world is a top expert who has lived for a very long time and reached the pinnacle of the sixth realm many years ago. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly. Although he knew his background, Jian Wushuang was still very relaxed. Chapter 3588. Blood Saber Emperor, Blood Saber Emperor. It's Blood Saber Emperor. The principal's masters who had been following Jian Wushuang immediately recognized him, causing a commotion. Thanks, Blood Saber Emperor has lived for a very long time and is also very strong. Among the experts of the pinnacle of the sixth realm in this territory, he is definitely one of the best. Previously, we were guessing which expert at the pinnacle of the sixth realm would be the first to arrive here. We didn't expect that it would be this Bloodblade Emperor. Bloodblade Emperor has come personally. With his strength, it shouldn't be a problem for him to take down the Blood Sword Master. It seems that the opportunity that the Blood Sword Master obtained will fall into the hands of this Bloodblade Emperor. It's still too early to say this. Bloodblade Emperor is indeed very powerful. However, since this Blood Sword Master can kill the Gray Python Master head-on, his strength shouldn't be too weak. Perhaps he can resist a little in the hands of Bloodblade Emperor. Everyone began to discuss. There were dozens of astral worlds in this territory. On average, every alternate astral world had 4 to 5 experts at the pinnacle of the sixth realm. For example, the Divine Beginning realm was born too early. Thus, there were only 2 experts at the pinnacle of the sixth realm. In addition, there were some extremely ancient experts who had lived for more than a chaos cycle and whose astral worlds had already collapsed. There were at least 200 to 300 experts at the pinnacle of the sixth realm in this territory. However, among these experts of the pinnacle of the sixth realm, Blood Saber Emperor was one of the best. This showed his strength. Therefore, when they saw Blood Saber Emperor, most people thought that Jian Wushuang's opportunity would fall into his hands. Blood Sword Master, right? Blood Saber Emperor, a short barefooted youth, stared at Jian Wushuang with a bewitching smile. Then he looked around the void. It seems that I'm lucky. Although so many people have their eyes on you, I should be the first one to reach the pinnacle of the sixth realm. I've long heard of your name. I've finally met you today. Jian Wushuang smiled. You don't have to flatter me. Blood Saber Emperor said directly, you should know my purpose of coming here. I won't beat around the bush. Tell me what happened to you all these years, and then give me your interspatial ring to check. I'll let you go. Haha, Blood Saber Emperor, you're too conceited. Although you've been famous for a long time, and your strength is not weak, you're not qualified to ask me to hand over my interspatial ring. Jian Wushuang laughed. No? Then there's nothing I can do. Blood Saber Emperor did not waste his breath on Jian Wushuang. After getting an answer, he pulled out his blood-red saber and said, 3 strikes. If I can't severely wound you, I'll leave. 3 strikes. Jian Wushuang smiled. He would not even care if Blood Saber Emperor performed 30 strikes, let alone 3 strikes. However, since Blood Saber Emperor had said so, Jian Wushuang decided to cooperate with him. Bring it on. Jian Wushuang beckoned Blood Saber Emperor with his finger. First strike. Blood Saber Emperor's eyes turned cold as he took a step forward. A deep sound of air being torn echoed in the void as Blood Saber Emperor appeared in front of Jian Wushuang. The blood-red saber in his hand swept out like a demonic charm, creating a dazzling blood-red saber shadow. It left a long blood-red river in the void. The saber technique is very beautiful, Jian Wushuang said with a faint smile. His sword principle had reached the 4th level, and he could activate the universe origin of sword principle. Because he had a superior understanding of sword principle, his vision was different. For example, the saber technique Blood Saber Emperor was using now, although it looked impressive to Jian Wushuang, it was just a show. Of course, in the eyes of the principal's masters watching the battle, Blood Saber Emperor's saber technique was very powerful. After all, it was the most powerful skill of the 6th realm. As the brilliant blood-red saber river descended, Jian Wushuang pulled out his blood mountain sword and faced it head-on. Clang! The sound of metal colliding rang out, and Jian Wushuang and Blood Saber Emperor both retreated. Not bad. To be able to take my move head-on, your battle strength is indeed not weaker than the pinnacle of the 6th realm. Blood Saber Emperor stood firm and looked at Jian Wushuang again. You can do it too, but you haven't shown your strongest strength yet. Jian Wushuang still smiled faintly. Humph, take my second saber. Blood Saber Emperor answered directly and directly attacked with his saber. Whoosh! A mighty saber shadow suddenly condensed in the void above. The saber shadow stretched for thousands of feet and seemed to split the heaven and earth. It slashed directly at Jian Wushuang, and wherever it passed, the space seemed to be cut open. It was also the most powerful skill of the 6 realms, but the second move of Blood Saber Emperor was obviously stronger than the previous one. In the face of this move, Jian Wushuang still casually slashed out his sword. Clang! Another collision, and Jian Wushuang was forced back again. As for Blood Saber Emperor, he did not retreat this time. Thanks, not bad. Your third saber move should be stronger, right? Jian Wushuang looked at Blood Saber Emperor with interest. Blood Saber Emperor's face darkened, and he looked at Jian Wushuang in a different way. He was not stupid. Although he had only collided with Jian Wushuang twice and gained the upper hand the second time, Jian Wushuang's expression and performance were too calm and relaxed. It was as if there was no pressure at all when facing him. Moreover, during the 2 clashes, he saw that Jian Wushuang's swordsmanship was very casual and did not look like he was seriously using his strongest skill. Blood Sword Master, take my third strike. Blood Saber Emperor's eyes were cold, and a shocking saber essence suddenly rose at this moment. Blood Saber Emperor was known as Blood Saber, and his understanding of saber principle was extremely high. Although he was not as good as Jian Wushuang, his understanding of saber principle had reached the limit compared to most experts of the pinnacle of the 6th realm. As Blood Saber Emperor slowly raised the blood-red saber in his hand, a terrifying saber essence storm slowly began to gather. Oh! Feeling the increasingly powerful saber essence in front of him, Jian Wushuang secretly nodded. Blood Saber Emperor's fame was definitely not made up. He was indeed very strong. At least, the ultimate move he had developed was extraordinary. It could even pose a great threat to an ordinary expert at the pinnacle of the 6th realm. Unfortunately, he was facing himself. Whoosh! the Saber essence swept out, and the strongest saber move that Blood Saber Emperor had been preparing for a long time finally arrived. The moment Blood Saber Emperor waved his saber, Jian Wushuang also instantly attacked. It was still a casual sword move, but it instantly triggered the origin of Sword Principle Universe. Chapter 3589. 5 People. The universe origin of Sword Principle was too high level. Even if Jian Wushuang did not use any powerful sword skill, as long as he activated the universe origin of Sword Principle in his sword skill, his sword would instantly become extremely terrifying. Clang! The two collided again. This time, Jian Wushuang was still pushed back, but Blood Saber Emperor also staggered back a few steps. After these steps, Blood Saber Emperor's face was a little ugly. Ha! As expected of Blood Saber Emperor. His strength is indeed impressive. Jian Wushuang's hearty laughter had already sounded. Blood Saber Emperor looked at Jian Wushuang with a complicated gaze. He could see that Jian Wushuang did not suffer any injury after the collision with his strongest saber, let alone serious injury. In other words, he could not hurt Jian Wushuang even if he tried his best, so he could not threaten him. Blood Sword Master, you are able to take 3 of my saber strikes head-on without any damage. You are definitely a powerful warrior among the 6 states, and I can't do anything to you alone, Blood Saber Emperor said seriously. Blood Saber Emperor, are you planning to leave? Jian Wushuang asked. No, although I can't do anything to you alone, there are too many experts targeting you this time. It's still very difficult for you to escape unscathed. I'd better wait and see, Blood Saber Emperor said with a faint smile. Then he flew toward the nearby void. He did not choose to leave. Instead, he stayed in the void around Jian Wushuang, like the other cultivators. Seeing this, Jian Wushuang shrugged, but he was not surprised. He knew that Blood Saber Emperor would not give up so easily. He would definitely wait for another opportunity to join hands with other experts when they arrived. He had already guessed this, so he did not reveal any of his strength in the fight with Blood Saber Emperor. He just casually withstood the attack of Blood Saber Emperor. It made people think that he was just an ordinary expert at the peak of the 6 realms, so he had the upper hand. If I'm not mistaken, Blood Saber Emperor will have to wait for other experts at the peak of the 6 realms to arrive. When 3 or 4 of them arrive, they will choose to join forces to deal with me. At that time, I, Thunderblaze Master, will make a move and start a massacre. Jian Wushuang's eyes were cold. He had already had his own thoughts. One, he knew that there were too many people targeting him this time. Since so many people were targeting him at the same time, it would be best for him to use the bloody massacre to intimidate all the experts and forces in this territory. It would make all the experts and forces tremble in fear. Of course, such a massacre was not something that could be done by killing just one person. If Jian Wushuang went all out, he could kill Blood Saber Emperor, but killing one person was not enough to intimidate him. The experts of the Pinnacle of the 6th realm would not attack him easily. Therefore, he had to wait for the other experts of the Pinnacle of the 6th realm to come and join hands with him. At that time, it would be the time for him to make his move. There was nothing more shocking than being able to defeat several experts of the Pinnacle of the 6th realm with lightning speed, and even kill a few of them on the spot. Let's wait slowly. Jian Wushuang was not in a hurry at all. He slowly headed toward Wuxin Lake. Naturally, more and more experts came, and soon a second expert of the Pinnacle of the 6th realm arrived. This expert of the Pinnacle of the 6th realm was Thunderblaze Master, whose strength was weaker than that of Blood Saber Emperor. He first fought with Jian Wushuang, but when he found that he could not defeat Jian Wushuang, he chose to do the same as Blood Saber Emperor. He first retreated to the side and continued to wait for other experts to arrive. Then, the third expert of the Pinnacle of the 6th realm, nine-sword demon master, also arrived. Time passed. It had been a year since Jian Wushuang was first targeted by Dragon Swan Master. During this year, more and more experts rushed over. There were now more than 100 principals masters around Jian Wushuang, and 5 principals masters who had reached the ultimate 6th realm. These 5 ultimate experts were Blood Saber Emperor, Thunderblaze Master, Nine-Sword Demon Master, Kuan Master, and Blood Spirit King. Among the 5 principals masters, Blood Saber Emperor and Blood Spirit King were the strongest, and Blood Spirit King was very close to a ruler. Among the many ultimate experts of the 6 realms in this territory, she was definitely one of the top 10 ultimate experts of the 6 realms. However, although Blood Spirit King was very powerful, she could not defeat Jian Wushuang in a one-on-one fight when she first arrived. Now, the 5 experts had gathered together. Blood Spirit King, I can't believe that even you can't defeat Blood Sword Master. Blood Saber Emperor looked at Blood Spirit King in surprise. The cold and arrogant woman in red armor looked extremely cold. I didn't expect Blood Sword Master to be so powerful, especially his swordsmanship. I just fought with him. Although I didn't use my strongest skill, I guess I can't kill him even if I use my strongest skill. I can't even severely injure him. Even you can't kill him. It seems that it's impossible to kill him alone. If that's the case, then we can only join forces. 4 of you, what do you think? Thunderblaze Master said. Join forces? Of course we will join forces. The reason why we have been waiting here and are unwilling to leave is to wait for more experts to arrive before joining forces, Nine-Sword Demon Master said. That Blood Sword Master's methods are indeed not weak. Even if 2 or 3 experts at the pinnacle of the 6th realm joined hands, I'm afraid they wouldn't have absolute confidence in killing him. However, if the 5 of us can join hands, then the chances of killing him would be very high. Blood Blade Emperor said seriously, Thunderblaze Master, Nine-Sword Demon Master, Kuan Master, and me, the 4 of us have already reached an agreement. Blood Spirit King, you are the strongest and the last to arrive. What do you say? Joining forces is not a problem. The key is to kill Blood Sword Master. After we obtain the opportunity from him, how should we split it? Blood Spirit King said. This, we will talk about it after we kill Blood Sword Master. Blood Blade Emperor said. Furthermore, we cannot kill him directly in the beginning. Instead, we have to think of a way to force him to tell us what happened to him over the years and the secrets of the life and death realm. Actually, as long as we know these, it will be a great harvest for us. As for the other opportunities, we will wait for him to tell us more before we kill him and snatch his interspatial ring. Sure. Thunderblaze Master nodded. Nine-Sword Demon Master and Kuan Master did not object. In that case, let's fight. Blood Spirit King smiled. Immediately, the 5 experts flew toward Jian Wushuang. Chapter 3590. The 5 Pinnacle of the 6 Realm Experts. Although there were more than 100 experts around Jian Wushuang, only 5 of them had reached the pinnacle of the 6th realm. Therefore, the movements of the 5 Pinnacle of the 6 Realm Experts were noticed by the other experts. However, when the 5 Pinnacle of the 6th realm joined hands and rushed toward Jian Wushuang, the void immediately stirred. They're finally going to make a move. Before Blood Spirit King arrived, the 4 of them were not absolutely sure that they could force Blood Sword Master. But now, with Blood Spirit King, this lineup is enough. 5 experts of the pinnacle of the 6th realm, especially top experts like Blood Spirit King and Blood Saber Emperor. I'm afraid only a ruler can do nothing to such a lineup. A series of sighing voices sounded from every corner. In just a moment, the 5 experts had appeared in front of Jian Wushuang. Seeing this, Jian Wushuang smiled faintly and said, 5 experts, Are you ready to attack so soon? Why don't you wait for a few more experts at the pinnacle of the sixth realm to arrive? The lineup of 5 experts at the pinnacle of the sixth realm might seem extremely terrifying to others, but Jian Wushuang felt that it was still a little lacking. He wanted to intimidate everyone. Naturally, the more experts, the better. The 5 experts of the pinnacle of the sixth realm were not enough to meet Jian Wushuang's requirements. Blood Sword Master, the 5 of us are here together. You should understand your current situation. You have no more room for struggle. You'd better tell us everything you know. Blood Saber Emperor said, "Tell us. Who will hear it? The 5 of you or all the experts present?" Jian Wushuang said with interest, "Of course, only the 5 of us will hear it." Thunderblaze Master said coldly, "Oh." Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows and said with a smile, "If that's the case, what about the experts around us? After all, they have followed me for a long time. It can't be for nothing, right?" As soon as he said this, the principal's masters who were in the surrounding void immediately began to discuss quietly. Just as Jian Wushuang said, they had rushed here on purpose. If they did not get anything, how could they be satisfied? Putting aside the opportunities that Jian Wushuang had already obtained, at least they had to know what kind of opportunities Jian Wushuang had had over the years. The secrets of the life and death realm were also of great concern to everyone present. If Jian Wushuang only told these 5 experts of the pinnacle of the sixth realm, the other experts would certainly not be satisfied. Blood Sword Master, at this time, do you still want us to panic? Blood Spirit King smiled coldly. You'd better tell us what you know. As for the surrounding experts, after the 5 of us confirm that what you said is true, we will naturally make it public. Yes, we alone can't swallow the secret of the life and death realm. We will definitely reveal it later. Blood Saber Emperor nodded. Hearing this, the expressions of the experts around them immediately eased up. Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows and said, "I really want to reveal the secret of the life and death realm, but unfortunately, even I don't know what is in the life and death realm." What Jian Wushuang said was the truth. He did not know what the secret of the life and death realm was. After all, he did not enter the life and death realm before, but he had never entered that special space and time. However, he did not know how he came out of that special space and came out of the life and death realm. Therefore, it was obviously impossible for these people to know the secret of the life and death realm. However, in the eyes of others, Jian Wushuang was lying. It seems that you really intend to monopolize the secrets of the life and death realm alone. Blood Spirit King's eyes turned cold. What are you waiting for? Since Blood Sword Master is so stubborn, let's attack together. I don't believe that he can keep his mouth shut when his life is at stake. Thunderblaze Master said, "Let's attack together." 9 Sword Demon Master's eyes turned cold. The pitch-black, godly sword on his back had already appeared in his hand. The other 4 also took out their own true treasures. Go! As Bloodblade Emperor was the first to attack, the 5 experts at the pinnacle of the sixth realm moved at the same time. Hung, 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 hung. 5 shocking auras burst out at the same time. Any one of these 5 auras was enough to make an ordinary expert at the pinnacle of the sixth realm tremble. Experts at the pinnacle of the sixth realm represented the pinnacle among principal's masters. Each of them had mastered 7 portions of the power of the will, and they were only 1 step away from becoming a ruler. Any one of these principal's masters was enough to make people revere them, would have been awe-inspiring. But now, there were 5 of them working together to kill Jian Wushuang. 5 experts at the pinnacle of the sixth realm. Jian Wushuang's eyes gradually turned cold as he looked at the 5 people who were attacking him at the same time. The 5 experts at the pinnacle of the 6th realm were slightly less than he had expected, but it was enough for him to use them to establish his power. Well, let's make it these 5. Jian Wushuang muttered and flipped his palm. The absolute shadow divine sword appeared in his hand. He changed his sword. When Jian Wushuang took out the absolute shadow divine sword, it immediately attracted the attention of Blood Saber Emperor. The 5 of them had fought with Jian Wushuang before. Because they could not defeat him alone, they chose to join forces. When Jian Wushuang fought with them, he only used the Blood Mountain sword, but now he had taken out the absolute shadow divine sword. Humph! So what if he exchanged swords? That sword looks like an advanced universe supreme treasure. So what? 9-Sword Demon Master smiled disdainfully. His name was 9-Sword, and his sword was also a weapon. He was good at sword principle, but the divine sword in his hand was indeed a top-tier universe supreme treasure. It was 1 level higher than Jian Wushuang's absolute shadow divine sword. Don't waste your time with him. Attack with all your strength, Blood Spirit King shouted in a low voice. She was wearing a pair of scarlet gloves. A large amount of blood mist was surging on the gloves, and a monstrous power condensed in her hands. 1 Blood Saber Emperor, Thunderblaze Master, 9-Sword Demon Master, and Kuan Master also attacked with all their strength at this moment. They showed no mercy. Jian Wushuang could not block all the attacks of these 5 people at the same time. Under normal circumstances, the best way to deal with such attacks was to try to dodge them together. However, Jian Wushuang had no intention of dodging. He took a step forward instead of retreating. He activated the universe origin of sword principle with his shadow sword, and a surge of violent aura rose up. The sword struck out with a thunderous momentum. It formed a huge blood-red flash. Chapter 3591. Crushing after the blood-red flash appeared, it directly slashed forward. In front of Jian Wushuang were Blood Spirit King and Blood Saber Emperor. These 2 were the strongest among the 5 experts of the pinnacle of the 6th realm. Their attacks were also the strongest, so they were in front of Jian Wushuang. He did not retreat when facing the 5 of us, but chose to face us head-on. He only blocked the attacks of Blood Spirit King and Blood Saber Emperor, but he ignored the attacks of the 3 of us. He's courting death. Anger surged in the eyes of the 5 experts of the pinnacle of the 6th realm. It was obvious that Jian Wushuang was underestimating them, especially Thunderblaze Master, 9-Sword Demon Master, and the 3 trapped experts. After all, the 5 of them were attacking at the same time, but Jian Wushuang only used his swordsmanship to block the attacks of Blood Spirit King and Blood Saber Emperor. However, Jian Wushuang had no intention of blocking the attacks of the other 3. He could not block them either. In other words, whether Jian Wushuang could block the attacks of Blood Spirit King and Blood Saber Emperor or not, the attacks of the 3 of them would definitely hit Jian Wushuang head-on. Knowing this, Jian Wushuang still did this. He was looking down on the 3 of them. I can suppress him 1-on-1, but he still wants to fight 5-on-1. What a joke! Blood Spirit King felt a trace of disdain in his heart. The blood mist on his right palm rolled, forming a thick blood cloud in an instant. 1 Blood Saber Emperor still used his mighty and domineering saber move, which was also his strongest move. In the blink of an eye, Jian Wushuang's blood-red flash collided with the attacks of Blood Spirit King and Blood Saber Emperor. Bang! With a loud sound, the attacks of Blood Spirit King and Blood Saber Emperor collapsed, as if they were crushing dead wood. How is this possible? Blood Spirit King and Blood Saber Emperor widened their eyes at the same time as they looked at the blood-red flash in front of them. They had thought that the blood-colored terpsichore was not that strong, and that they could easily deal with it or even defeat it by themselves. However, when the two of them joined hands, they were actually crushed by the blood-colored terpsichore. Yes, crushed. Their attacks had completely ended, but there was still more than half of the power of the blood-colored terpsichore left. This monstrous power swept toward the two of them at the first moment, and in an instant, humph! Blood Spirit King groaned. Blood immediately flowed out of the corner of her mouth, and her aura was greatly weakened. Blood Saber Emperor, on the other hand, was even more miserable. She spat out a large mouthful of blood, completely dyeing the supreme treasure armor on her body red. The two of them also retreated backward in a sorry state. This scene shocked the principal's masters, who were watching the battle in the nearby void. However, they did not have the time to be shocked because the attacks of Thunder Blaze Master, Nine Sword Demon Master, and Kuan Master had already landed on Jian Wushuang. Thunder Blaze Master held a heavy sword in his hand. The dark, world-annihilating divine thunder in the heavy sword rolled and formed a rolling thundercloud that completely covered Jian Wushuang. Nine Sword Demon Master's sword essence was rampant, but there was an extremely cold sword light that silently stabbed toward the back of Jian Wushuang's head. As for Kuan Master, he swung his sledgehammer and smashed down in a mighty manner. The three attacks landed on Jian Wushuang at almost the same time, and three astonishing powers burst out in an instant. When they saw that their attacks had all hit Jian Wushuang, Thunderblaze Master, Nine Sword Demon Master, and Kuan Master could not help but smile. However, as soon as the smile appeared, it immediately froze. In front of them, Jian Wushuang, who had been attacked by three attacks at the same time, was covered in a layer of sparkling blood-red armor. Under the powerful attacks of the three of them, the blood-red armor was surging with a thick blood-red light. As for Jian Wushuang, he slowly raised his head, blinked at the three of them, and smiled strangely. What's going on? Before the three of them could regain their senses, they found that Jian Wushuang had already made his move. As soon as he made his move, the Absolute Shadow Divine Sword instantly activated the origin of the Sword Principal Universe, the power of the first level of the Blood Demon Cave armor, which was at the pinnacle of the Sixth Realm, was completely unleashed. Whoosh! A violent blood-red sword shadow swept across the area. After the sword shadow took shape, it directly formed a raging purple flame and instantly covered the area. It was Jian Wushuang's most powerful ultimate skill, Starfire Burning Sun. This is seeing Jian Wushuang's sword skill. The three people in front of them were stunned. They had been at the pinnacle of the Sixth Realm for many years, so they were very knowledgeable. As soon as Jian Wushuang's sword skill was used, they immediately recognized the special mystery and power contained in it. A seventh-level absolute art. An absolute art at the ruler realm. Thunderblaze Master, Nine Sword Demon Master, and Kuan Master widened their eyes as they watched the sword crushing toward them. They were terrified, and they tried their best to resist. However, although it was 1 against 3, the power of a seventh-level absolute art was far beyond their imagination. Moreover, after Jian Wushuang activated the first level of the Blood Demon Cave armor, his strength at the peak of the Six Realms was much stronger than any of them. Moreover, Jian Wushuang's sword skill contained the universe origin of Sword Principle. Boom! A shocking explosion sounded. A world-shaking power burst out from the purple flames like a volcano that had been silent for hundreds of millions of years. It was so powerful that it could destroy the world in an instant. It almost instantly broke the attacks of the three of them. Then it continued to attack their divine bodies. The three of them were experts at the pinnacle of the Sixth Realm. They were rich, and their bodies were protected by armor at the level of a top-tier universe supreme treasure. However, they were only top-tier universe supreme treasures, not top-tier supreme treasures like Jian Wushuang's Blood Demon Cave armor. When faced with an attack at Jian Wushuang's level, they could only weaken the power by 80% at most. However, the remaining power still caused a devastating blow to their divine bodies. One buzz. Without a sound, the divine body of Master Kuan directly collapsed. After it collapsed, it did not even have the chance to regenerate. All of its divine power had been wiped out. Kuan Master died on the spot. As for Thunderblaze Master and Nine Sword Demon Master, they had stronger protective skills. However, under the impact of such power, although they did not die on the spot, 60 to 70% of their divine power was immediately annihilated. Oh my God! Thunderblaze Master and Nine Sword Demon Master were scared out of their wits at this moment. They immediately turned around and intended to escape. However, Jian Wushuang did not make a move, so he naturally would not show mercy. When he killed Kuan Master at the first moment, he had already set his eyes on the second person. This person was Nine Sword Demon Master. Chapter 3592, The Strongest. Oh no! Nine Sword Demon Master's expression changed drastically. He had already seen Jian Wushuang appear beside him. At the same time, a cold sword light lit up again. It was the Peerless Sword Manual, Star Dream, another ruler realm secret technique. Nine Sword Demon Master was in despair. There was no room for him to struggle. As the sword light passed by, his voice and breath were cut off. His godly sword at the level of top-tier true treasure, the true treasure armor on his body, and his universe ring, they all fell into Jian Wushuang's hands. No wonder it's a top-tier universe treasure. It has a strong murderous aura. It's much stronger than my absolute shadow divine sword. Jian Wushuang looked at the pitch-black divine sword in his hand with interest. After a long while, he raised his head again. However, when he raised his head, he found that Blood Spirit King, Blood Saber Emperor, and Thunderblaze Master had gathered together again. The three of them kept a distance from him and looked at him from afar. In the depths of their eyes, there was a trace of shock and fear. Not only the three of them, but also the principal's masters who were watching the battle in the surrounding void were completely silent at this moment. Silence. The whole world was terrifyingly silent. After a while, Blood Saber Emperor was the first to speak, breaking the silence. Blood Sword Master, have you been hiding your strength? Blood Saber Emperor stared at Jian Wushuang. Of course, if I didn't hide my strength, why would you all come to me to kill me? Unfortunately, I'm not strong enough to kill you, so I can only kill two of you. Jian Wushuang said with a faint smile. Hearing this, Blood Saber Emperor fell silent again. At this moment, the hearts of the experts present had already been set ablaze. It should be known that when the 5 experts of the Pinnacle of the 6th Realm joined hands to kill Jian Wushuang, almost everyone thought that they could most likely take him down. Even if they could not kill him, they could at least force him into a desperate situation. They asked him to honestly tell them everything about his encounter. But the final result completely overturned everyone's understanding. The 5 experts of the Pinnacle of the 6th Realm attacked at the same time and revealed their strongest strength. But in the end, in the blink of an eye, 2 of the 5 experts of the Pinnacle of the 6th Realm were killed by Jian Wushuang on the spot. The remaining 3 were also severely injured. The strength that Jian Wushuang displayed in just a moment was too terrifying. His strength and power are obviously stronger than ours. Among the principal's masters of the Pinnacle of the 6th Realm, am also good at head-on collisions and competing in power. However, the power that he released in an instant can definitely crush me. Blood Spirit King said in a low voice, and his protective ability is even more terrifying. He completely ignored the strongest attacks of Thunder Blaze Master, Nine Sword Devil Master, and Kuan Master, who were at the pinnacle of the Sixth Realm. Even when the 3 attacks landed on his body did not even tremble. What kind of terrifying protective ability was this? The true treasure armor on his body is definitely of an extraordinary level. What? It's fine if his power and protective ability are strong, but the key is his absolute art. He actually created a 7th level, which is an absolute art at the ruler realm, and not just one. This is too terrifying. Thunder Blaze Master's body was trembling. An absolute art at the level of a 7th level ruler is on a completely different level from a 6th level absolute art. Its power is tens of times, or nearly 100 times stronger than an ultimate art at the 6th level. Its basic power is already stronger than ours, and he even created a 7th level absolute art. The power he unleashed in an instant, even if the 5 of us join forces and clash head-on with him, we will definitely be completely crushed by him, Bloodblade Emperor exclaimed. In this territory, many of the experts at the pinnacle of the 6th realm are only one step away from becoming a ruler. However, this step is as difficult as ascending to the heavens. As for the absolute arts at the ruler realm, they are still unattainable by many experts at the pinnacle of the 6th realm. As far as I know, among the many experts at the pinnacle of the 6th realm in this territory, there is only one who has created a level 7 absolute art. Moreover, that person has already disappeared without a trace for 3 million years. It is unknown whether he is still in this territory. However, even the one who created the 7-realm absolute art is only as powerful as us. In other words, if he were to fight against the Blood Sword Master, he would still be no match for the Blood Sword Master. Blood Spirit King, Bloodblade Emperor, and Thunderblaze Master looked at each other with a hint of shock in their eyes. The power of his basic strength was much stronger than that of an ordinary expert at the pinnacle of the 6th realm. Moreover, he had created an absolute art at the level of a rank 7 ruler. Not only that, but his strength. He's the strongest. Blood Sword Master is definitely qualified to be called the strongest among the many Principles Masters in our territory. Yes, he is indeed the strongest Principles Master. At least among the countless Principles Masters in this territory, no one is his match. Even those monsters who were supposed to be at the top of the Principles Masters are no match for him. The only one who is stronger than him is a ruler. Blood Spirit King, Blood Saber Emperor, and Thunderblaze Master did not try to hide their voices. Jian Wushuang was not the only one who heard their words. The many experts who were watching the battle in the surrounding void had also heard them. In an instant, the surrounding void was filled with exclamations. The strongest among the Principles Masters was also the strongest Principles Master. This title was not something that just anyone could have. It was not something that anyone could be sure of. To get the full title, one had to have an incredible battle record. Now, Jian Wushuang had fought alone against 5 experts of the pinnacle of the 6th realm. He had killed 2 of them and severely injured 3 of them. This battle record was indeed shocking, and he was qualified to be called the strongest Principles Master. In addition to the comments made by Blood Spirit King, Blood Saber Emperor, and Thunderblaze Master, many Principles Masters who had lost their lives nodded in agreement. As for Jian Wushuang, he smiled when he heard their conversation. "You 3, do you want to continue?" "Continue?" Blood Spirit King, Blood Saber Emperor, and Thunderblaze Master were shocked, and their bodies also trembled. Previously, the 5 of them were instantly killed by 2 people, And now there were only 3 of them. How could they have the courage to continue attacking? Blood Sword Master, your strength surpasses us, far beyond us. Not to mention the 3 of us now. Even if a few more experts at the pinnacle of the 6th realm came, they would only be completely crushed by you. Since that's the case, then why are we still fighting for it? Blood Spirit King said directly, right, the opportunity treasure is originally for those with ability. Since you are so powerful, we naturally don't dare to covet it. Bloodblade Emperor also nodded. Chapter 3593. Leaving Blood Spirit King, Blood Saber Emperor, and Thunderblaze Master all knew that they could not threaten Jian Wushuang at all. It was obviously impossible for them to make Jian Wushuang submit. Therefore, they simply looked at him calmly. Blood Sword Master, although the 3 of us can't threaten you and can't ask you for anything, I still want to ask you to tell us the secret of the life and death realm. After all, the life and death realm is very important, Blood Saber Emperor said again. His voice was very sincere, and it was indeed a request. Before, they did not only want to know the secret of the life and death realm, but also wanted to know the opportunity that Jian Wushuang had encountered and even claimed it for themselves. But now, they did not dare to have any thoughts about the opportunity that Jian Wushuang had obtained. They only wanted to know the secret of the life and death realm, but they had to look at Jian Wushuang's face and see if he was willing to tell them. Upon hearing the words of Blood Saber Emperor, Jian Wushuang smiled. He said, "Gentlemen, I didn't lie before. I don't know the secret of the life and death realm. Let me tell you this. I didn't enter the life and death realm before. I went to an unexplored area. In the unexplored area, I mistakenly entered a special space-time. I was trapped in that special space-time for nearly 100,000 years and obtained a certain amount of opportunity. Later, I finally escaped and rushed out along the space passage of the special space-time. I didn't expect to walk out of the life and death realm." "Is that so?" Blood Spirit King and the other 2 looked at Jian Wushuang deeply. Although they still had some doubts in their hearts, they did not dare to question him anymore. "In that case, we'll take our leave." Blood Spirit King cupped his hands and left first. Blood Saber Emperor and Thunderblaze Master did not stay any longer and left directly. After all, the 3 of them had suffered some injuries from the collision with Jian Wushuang. Thunderblaze Master, in particular, had lost nearly 70% of his divine power. It was not suitable for him to stay here any longer. The 3 experts of the pinnacle of the 6th realm had left. The principal's masters, who were not as strong as Jian Wushuang, hesitated for a while before leaving. This was normal. The principal's masters had been staying here because they had some illusions about Jian Wushuang's fortuitous encounter over the years. Even if they could not get Jian Wushuang's fortuitous encounter, at least they had to know the secret of the life and death realm. But from the battle just now, they understood that it was impossible to force Jian Wushuang with strength. What Jian Wushuang was willing to say had already been said, so they could not get anything more. Naturally, there was no point in following Jian Wushuang, so they could only leave. However, they were still shocked and amazed by Jian Wushuang's strength in that battle. After all, they had seen the battle clearly. They all knew that Jian Wushuang's strength was not mixed with any water. He had defeated 5 experts of the pinnacle of the 6th realm, led by Blood Spirit King, and killed 2 of them on the spot. They had heard that Blood Spirit King, Blood Saber Emperor, and Thunderblaze Master were willing to address Jian Wushuang as the strongest among the principal's masters, and the result of the battle was bound to be known by them. It would spread to all the star worlds in the territory. In the void, Jian Wushuang let out a sigh of relief as he watched the principal's masters, who had been following him all this time, leave. Although he was strong enough to not care about these average principal's masters, he had been watched by so many pairs of eyes. His every move could be said to be known by all the experts in the territory. It did not feel good. Therefore, if he could solve this matter as soon as possible, it would be better to do so. Fortunately, I killed 9-sword demon master and Kuan master, 2 experts at the pinnacle of the 6th realm. It seems that I still shocked them. After this battle, at least among the principal's masters, there should not be any ignorant people who come to find trouble with me. As for the ruler, a superior ruler realm expert should not be so bored as to bring his status down to find trouble with me, right? Jian Wushuang muttered. He was not worried about the principal's master, but he was worried about being targeted by a ruler realm expert. However, there was no one following him around now. Even if a ruler realm expert really targeted him, it would not be easy to find him again if no one sent a message. He knew that when he arrived at the Wushuang Lake, he would be completely safe once he saw Star Palace Master's good friend. After heaving a sigh of relief, Jian Wushuang was ready to move again, but at this moment, Bloodsword Master! A shout suddenly came from the void beside him. Jian Wushuang turned his head and saw an ugly hunchbacked old man with a ruddy face rushing toward him. "Oh, it's Fierce Neon Master." Jian Wushuang smiled and looked polite. After all, Fierce Neon Master was a member of Star Palace. Star Palace was a well-known force in this territory. It had many principal's masters under its command, including some top principal's masters. Jian Wushuang had met Axe 1 Master Marquis Duanyu and the others. Although they were at the highest level of Star Palace, it did not mean that they were the strongest in Star Palace. On the contrary, some of the top experts in the Star Palace were wandering in the 3 battlefields all year round. They did not pay attention to the many things in the Star Palace. For example, Fierce Neon Master was such an expert. His battle strength had reached the pinnacle of the 6th realm. He was extremely outstanding among the experts in the Star Palace. However, after the previous battle, Fierce Neon Master had also seen Jian Wushuang's strength. He naturally understood the gap between Jian Wushuang's strength and Jian Wushuang's. Therefore, when he came to Jian Wushuang, his expression was extremely humble and even had a trace of respect. "I'm sorry. There were too many people who were eyeing you. Although I was around, I couldn't help you much," Fierce Neon Master said apologetically. "I understand." Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. He knew that although Fierce Neon Master was also a member of Star Palace, he did not have much of a relationship with him. In addition, many experts from Star Palace only joined Star Palace for some special purposes and interests. There was no unity at all. Under such circumstances, Fierce Neon Master naturally would not show up to fight with Jian Wushuang. Even if he was willing to show up, his strength could not help Jian Wushuang at all. Chapter 3594. Famous throughout the world, Fierce Neon Master, why are you here? Jian Wushuang looked at Fierce Neon Master. Bloodsword Master, actually, I'm here to ask if this is really the only secret of the life and death realm, Fierce Neon Master said. Of course, the life and death realm is of great importance. If I really knew the secret, I would tell you, but I really only know so much, Jian Wushuang said. Bloodsword Master, can you tell me about the specific things you did in that special space? For example, the location of that special space-time. Fierce Neon Master asked eagerly. However, upon hearing this, Jian Wushuang's expression immediately turned cold. Fierce Neon Master, I told you that I entered that special space-time by accident when I was exploring the unknown region. Since it was an accident, how could I know the specific location of that special space-time? As for the specific things I encountered in that special space, I'm sorry, but I can't tell you any of my personal secrets. Jian Wushuang's voice was a little cold. There was even a faint killing intent rising from between his brows. This made fierce Neon Master's heart skip a beat. He laughed dryly and said, "I was too rude. Please forgive me, Blood Sword Master." "Fierce Neon Master, if there's nothing else, I'll be on my way," Jian Wushuang said. "Please do." Fierce Neon Master did not dare to stop him and could only watch Jian Wushuang leave. After Jian Wushuang left, Fierce Neon Master's expression immediately turned cold. Blood Sword Master was just lucky and got a lucky break. Look at his arrogant look. What does he really think of himself? The strongest principles master is still just a principles master. If he meets a ruler, he will still be forced to flee. Fierce Neon Master muttered softly, but his words were filled with bitterness. In this world, there were many people who would turn green with envy whenever they saw someone nice. Fierce Neon Master was one of them. Moreover, Fierce Neon Master was a very selfish person. Previously, he had been chased by a faction and had no choice but to join the Star Palace to seek protection. After entering the Star Palace, he had only used the resources of the Star Palace. He was thinking of ways to plan for himself. As for the matter of the experts from the Star Palace taking care of each other, he was just talking about it. When the time came, he did not care about it at all. This time, he happened to meet Jian Wushuang, who was targeted by many experts. Although he was an expert from the Star Palace, he was actually also targeting Jian Wushuang, eager to learn the secrets of the life and death realm from Jian Wushuang. He was even one of the many experts who coveted the opportunity in Jian Wushuang's hands. When Jian Wushuang was besieged, he had no intention of helping him at all. After the battle ended, Jian Wushuang shocked everyone. When everyone left, he ran over while licking his lips. He wanted to rely on his identity as an expert from Star Palace to get close to Jian Wushuang, and then learn some secrets from Jian Wushuang. I have to say, Fierce Neon Master's plan is really good. After Jian Wushuang separated from Fierce Neon Master, a sneer appeared on the corner of his mouth. He had lived 2 lifetimes and experienced many things. It was not that he had not seen a villain like Fierce Neon Master. He did not want to pay any price and simply relied on his identity as the subordinate of one of the forces. It was wishful thinking to easily learn about the existence of the special space from him and his specific encounter in it. Of course, Jian Wushuang would not let him get what he wanted. He did know about the existence of the special space, but he would never tell anyone, not even the people closest to him. He did not have any friendship with Fierce Neon Master at all. Only a fool would tell him about it. Shaking his head, Jian Wushuang did not think much about it and continued on his way to Wuxin Lake. While Jian Wushuang continued on his way, the news of the battle between Jian Wushuang and the 5 experts of the Pinnacle of the 6 realms spread throughout the territory. For a time, the entire territory was shocked. He single-handedly fought against 5 ultimate experts of the 6 realms, including top experts like Blood Spirit King and Blood Saber Emperor. But in the end, Blood Sword Master defeated them, and even killed 3 of them on the spot. How is this possible? I heard that the 5 ultimate experts of the 6 realms fought with all their strength, but in just a moment Blood Spirit King and Blood Saber Emperor were forced back by Blood Sword Master, while Thunderblaze Master, 9 Sword Demon Master, and Kuan Master attacked Blood Sword Master with all their strength. But Blood Sword Master's divine body was not affected at all. His protective ability is simply terrifying. From the news that Blood Sword Master seems to have created an absolute art at the ruler realm. That's true, and it's said that he didn't just create one. He created several absolute arts at the ruler realm at the same time. An absolute art at the ruler realm. I don't think there's anyone in this territory who has created an absolute art at the ruler realm, right? Blood Sword Master is too terrifying. No wonder Blood Spirit King, Blood Saber Emperor, and Thunder Blaze Master recognized him as the most powerful Principles Master. The most powerful Principles Master. Thanks. He hasn't appeared in many years. In this territory, numerous experts from various forces and star worlds were talking about Jian Wushuang crazily. What they were talking about was Jian Wushuang's terrifying strength. However, this strength did not arouse any doubt. After all, Jian Wushuang had a real battle record. Moreover, the fierce battle scene was recorded by the surrounding spectators using the mirror image. Now that it had spread, no one dared to doubt it after seeing the mirror image. Jian Wushuang had defeated 5 experts of the Pinnacle of the 6th Realm and killed 2 of them on the spot. He deserved the title of the strongest Principles Master. His name resounded throughout the territory. Blood Sword Master, the strongest Principles Master. In the palace of Star Palace. Impossible. How is this possible? When they heard the news from the depths of Devil's Smoke Valley, Acts 1 Master, Marquis Duanyu, Star Saint Master, and 7 Emotions Master were completely stunned. Heavenly Sword Marquis actually defeated 5 experts at the Pinnacle of the 6th Realm and killed 2 of them on the spot. Acts 1 Master was in a daze. How can Heavenly Sword Marquis be so strong? 7 Emotions Master frowned. He has been missing for nearly 100,000 years. Even if he had obtained a great opportunity during these 100,000 years, his strength shouldn't have increased so ridiculously all of a sudden. Chapter 3595. News. Has the Heavenly Sword Marquis made a breakthrough? Star Saint Master suddenly asked. A breakthrough? The surrounding people were shocked. They all knew that Jian Wushuang was only at the Immortal Saint realm. The reason why others thought he was a Principles Master was because he had refined a treasure that could hide his divine power aura. With the strength of a Principles Master, he could not see through it. Before Jian Wushuang disappeared, his battle strength had already reached the 6th realm. If he made a breakthrough and became a Principles Master during these years, his battle strength would reach the strongest level among Principles Masters. It was understandable. However, no, I saw the mirror image of the battle between the Heavenly Sword Marquis and the 5 Blood Spirit Kings. The aura of the Heavenly Sword Marquis in the image is still very ordinary. He should still be using the treasure to hide his aura. If he made a breakthrough, there is no need for him to hide it. In other words, he is indeed still an immortal saint, Acts 1 Master said seriously. The immortal saint can easily kill someone at the Pinnacle of the 6th realm. When the 7 Emotions Master thought of this, he felt as if the world was spinning. Although I don't know what's going on, my little friend Heavenly Sword Marquis already has the strongest strength among the Principles Masters. This is definitely a joyous occasion for us. Marquis Duanyu said, with some excitement. That's right. I was a little puzzled earlier. I don't know why the Palace Master thinks so highly of this Heavenly Sword Marquis. However, I finally understand now. The potential of this Heavenly Sword Marquis is simply too terrifying and unbelievable. His improvement speed is even more shocking. The Immortal Saint is already considered invincible among the Principles Masters. With such strength, I really don't know what will happen when he breaks through to become a Principles Master in the future. Acts 1 Master said, while clenching his hands. From the looks of it, if he breaks through to become a Principles Master, his battle prowess will be able to contend against a ruler, Star Saint Master said. Everyone was extremely excited when they heard this. However, the 4 of them quickly calmed down. Previously, I was worried that the Heavenly Sword Marquis would be in danger after being targeted by so many people. However, from the looks of it, I was worried for nothing. With the strength that he has displayed now, There will definitely be no ignorant people among the principal's masters who will find trouble with him. The only ones who pose a threat to him are probably experts at the ruler realm. However, there aren't many experts at the ruler realm in this territory to begin with, who would be so bored as to lower their status and attack an immortal saint. Acts 1 Master said with a smile, "Yes, but we have to be careful. Palace Master's good friend is about to arrive at the Wushuang Lake. As long as he picks up the heavenly sword Marquis and brings him back to the Star Palace, he will be safe," Marquis Duan said. "When we return to the Star Palace, I want to ask him what he has been through all these years and why his strength has improved so much." 7 Emotions Master snorted. Hearing this, the others also laughed. They were also curious about Jian Wushuang's strength and progress. Therefore, when Jian Wushuang returned safely, they would definitely ask him. One of the 3 battlefields, Bloodstone Mountain. Bloodstone Mountain was absolutely no less dangerous than Devil's Smoke Valley, especially in the depths of Bloodstone Mountain. It was even more dangerous than the depths of Devil's Smoke Valley. Therefore, those who dared to wander in the depths of Bloodstone Mountain, usually the lowest level was an expert at the pinnacle of the 6th realm. On the bloody ground, there were pieces of bloody stones. These bloody stones were extremely hard, and their materials were much harder than many treasures used to forge weapons. And these bloody stones were also the only things in the Bloodstone Mountain that could be trampled on. As for the bloody ground around the bloody stones, it was indeed full of dangers. It was like a swamp. No matter who it was, as long as their body touched the bloody ground, they would immediately be sucked into the land. If it was a ruler realm expert who was swallowed by the blood-colored land, they could still rely on their own tyrannical strength to escape. However, if anyone below the ruler realm fell into the blood-colored land, they would die without a doubt. There was no chance of survival. At this moment, on one of the blood-colored stones in the center of the blood-colored land, a young man with blood-red hair and blood-red robes was sitting cross-legged with a blood-red demonic saber on his back. His gaze was misty, as if he was reminiscing about something. At that moment, a figure charged over from the void, not too far away. "Blood Butcher, you're here." The person who came was dressed in a loose long robe and looked very young. When he saw the blood-red-robed young man on the blood rock, he immediately revealed a smile. "Heavenly Scar, why are you here?" The blood-red-robed young man glanced at the person who came, and his expression was extremely cold. "You are still so cold. No wonder you don't have a single good friend after so many years. Even I can barely be considered half a good friend of yours." The person landed on the bloodstone where the blood-haired youth was, letting out a light breath. The Heavenly Scar Divine Master said, "Blood Butcher, I came here specially to tell you a piece of news." "Speak." The blood-haired, blood-robed youth was still as cold as ever. Not too long ago, a major incident occurred in the depths of Devil's Smoke Valley. This incident caused a huge commotion among the various powers in this territory. Of course, you have nothing to worry about. You are no longer under any of the powers, and you only have half a good friend like me. If I didn't tell you, you wouldn't have known. The Heavenly Scar Divine Master smiled, faintly. The blood-haired, blood-robed youth remained silent, as if he had admitted it. Indeed, this blood-haired, blood-robed youth had no attachments, and he didn't have any good friends. He only knew how to go adventuring by himself to increase his strength. If one were to ask who was the most uninformed expert who roamed this territory, it would definitely be this blood-haired, blood-robed man, Blood Slaughter Emperor. I have a mirror image here. Take a look for yourself. The Heavenly Scar Divine Master took out a token and handed it to the Blood Slaughter Emperor. The Blood Slaughter Emperor took it and began to browse through it. When he saw the mirror image of 5 experts of the Pinnacle of the Sixth Realm attacking Jian Wushuang at the same time, the blood slaughter emperor was still indifferent at first, and his expression did not change at all. However, when he saw Jian Wushuang attacking, his expression changed immediately. An absolute art at the ruler realm. He narrowed his eyes and focused on the scene. When he finished watching the scene, his expression became extremely excited, and his eyes were filled with excitement. He created an absolute art at the ruler realm, and there's more than one. Amazing! He could not help but exclaim in admiration. Thanks. This is the first principles master that your blood slaughter emperor personally said is amazing, right? The heavenly scar divine master beside him said in a strange manner.